Welcome to We Are Libertarians for this week. I'm your host, Chris Spangle. Joining me, as always, across the table, the center of the aisle today, is Greg Lenz. Greg, how are you?
I like this whole new thing where, depending on where my stance is, based upon our guests, I move seats. So I'm the middle today. Tyler, or I'll let you introduce them before.
Returning our two champions of We Are Libertarians, we've got Harry Price.
Hello, everybody.
How are you doing?
Going good. Got the green microphone today.
Yes, you do. Yeah, it's St. Patrick's Day. I, of course, am wearing my neon green shorts and my neon green shirt, so I am looking very festive.
Mountain Dew fresh.
You look like a 2-liter.
And then in the Make America Great hat again is Tyler Weiss. Weiss.
Ooh, yeah, that's
Wiesewitz.
me. Whatever, however you want to pronounce it. It's spelled the same.
So you have a tiny head.
I do.
That hat, we all tried it on. We all took photos. We'll put it up on the Instagram at We Are Libertarians, and you can get a good shot of all of us in the hat.
What kind of Trump supporter agrees with that? You're supposed to say, "Look at
Well,
this head."
I was gonna hold on.
This is a great head.
I was gonna let him finish,
Right.
and then I was gonna say I don't have a small head. Donald Trump just has a extremely large head because of all of his brain and smarts.
Ah, that's what it is.
He has a big head, yeah. I tried it on. It was a little tight on me. Harry, we couldn't get it over your hair.
Yeah.
You have what is affectionately known as a fro.
Yep. It's getting warm out, so I decided to get the hair back out.
Wearing a fro. Harry, as you may know, is a member of the black community.
Yes.
Right.
Correct. Yes.
He inducted you on an episode, if you remember correctly.
That's right.
How do I join?
Well, you're not going to get in wearing that hat, that's for sure.
Not in St. Louis, I can tell you that.
Oh, God.
So we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on. We've got a lot of things happening here in the studio. We're recording this on my iPad to put up on the YouTube. We're periscoping this.
Not live, though.
Nah, it's periscoping live, but the YouTube isn't live. So far, we have 2 listeners on the Periscope.
Shout out to the fans.
Yeah, so I'll probably turn that off after a while, so I can continue to text my girlfriend.
Priorities.
Oh, can they see me?
You aren't allergic to a cat, are you?
Me? No.
Yeah.
I had the most famous cat on YouTube at one point in time.
What?
Yeah, Butters McNutt.
Oh, wow.
What?
You guys never heard about Butters McNutt?
No.
No, please tell
Butters
us.
v. McNutt was my famous cat.
Yeah.
And I wrote a song about him. I call him a him because I don't know why, but I wrote a song about her one night and recorded it and made a music video and put it on YouTube and got quite a few views. And that was the same channel that was Ville Station, but YouTube decided to take it down for content, sexual content, and other.
Was it sexual content with the cat?
No, not with the cat. All of our other music videos and just we had like 3 strikes on our account. It was pretty bad. I've been lobbying to get it back for like 6 years, and
apparently Google has not heard your cries.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't like free speech. Apparently,
stupid
oppressors.
Stupid community standards.
Keep trying.
Sergey.
Change it from the inside. You can do it.
Fuck
boy.
YouTube. I'm on Live Leak now, baby.
What is on? What are you? Are you still doing things on Live Leak? What are you doing?
No, I'm not doing anything.
You do have some of your songs up there.
I think they're on SoundCloud. I couldn't even tell you where they're at. We had a website, but I think it expired.
Because I've heard your songs.
Oh yeah, we have like 34 songs or something like that.
I bet you I can find it real quick and we'll play a little bitty.
You don't have to.
A little
if you
ditty.
Don't.
We'll
No.
play a little
let's
ditty.
talk politics.
What's your favorite? What would you say your favorite is?
I like White Trash. That one's pretty good.
Okay.
Fuck Class. That one's about not going to class. We're not allowed to curse on this?
Trying not to, but you did, so it doesn't matter.
Oopsies.
Oopsies.
Forget Class. You You probably shouldn't play it for our music if you don't want to hear cursing.
It's fine. You also had a ton of dunk videos, too.
Oh, yeah. No, the first video I ever put on YouTube was in 2006. When did it start? 2006?
2006.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
What's a dunk video?
See, Harry, this is where white boys from the suburbs.
Yeah, we used to go out and I'd film my two buddies going out and just freestyle dunking because they're basketball players and they just, I don't know, we just had nothing to do. And so I uploaded.
It was Martinsville.
Yeah,
you made stuff happen.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta make yourself great.
Right.
So we'd upload these videos, and overnight it made the front page of YouTube. This was before YouTube was YouTube, but
Yeah.
I ended up doing quite a bit of stuff. It opened up quite a few doorways.
Like
Actually got involved with a documentary that was on dunking and some other things.
Name the doors that this opened.
A lot.
Yeah.
Building 7, the inside dunk.
Have you ever heard of thermite?
Oh, are you a conspiracy theorist, Tyler? You don't seem
Well,
like you
by
are.
the definition of conspiracy. No, not really.
No, he's a great American that supports Trump.
I don't think you are, Harry, are you?
No. I indulge them. I like them. I was, for a time, trapped in them because of a distrust from the government. So you kind of fall into that. But once you realize, like, wait a minute.
You realize how incompetent they are. You're like, yeah, they can keep this under wraps.
Yeah, how can they? Yeah.
But now the Greys, yeah, and the reptile
shadow people. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. I don't know if you guys.
What song is this?
And the
This is
Vampire
white-
Industrial.
This is White Trash. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it, but I will.
Just play the chorus and then.
You got your Jimmy Town,
Some sample.
right? You got your karate chop.
You got your
You
karate
got
chop.
your ninja chop. You want smart like your day. When you judo chopping, you got a sight there, for you, for demon. Like that Judy chop. That's what you don't want to do.
I'm white trash. My parents are related. I'm white trash.
My trailer is outdated.
I'm white trash. Earnhardt was the best, and I paid for my things with welfare checks. I'm white trash. My parents are related. I'm white trash.
My
trailer is outdated. I'm white trash.
You haven't even heard the flow yet.
Oh, we haven't?
I dropped a hot 16, but we can do that later. They can go to the website or find it wherever.
Yeah, I'll put this in the show notes. So if you go to wearelibertarians.com, look up this episode, and we'll put it in there, and you can check it out. And also, your cousin Aaron can't spell at all.
Well, no, he's got two A's in his name.
So it's Ville station, Ville station, as in Martinsville station, not Vile station.
We are quite vile, though.
Yeah.
Repulsive.
Well, first off, before we get started, now that we've delighted ourselves with a little white trash Ville station.
Was that a paid sponsorship, by the way?
No, you owe me $20. Thank you for paying.
What happened to the $20 I just
that's-
gave you? Is that going to cat food
that was
or
for
what?
the plug.
Yes.
We got
okay. Well, here's 20 more. Play another 10 seconds.
I want to thank the people who have donated since our last episode, all monthly contributors with the exception of Joshua, CJ Rodine, Aaron Jones, and Mark English. Thank you very much. Right. Harry made a large contribution, one of the largest ever in the history of the show, before the podcast began.
Are we doing pay for play now? Is this a payola scheme?
Absolutely. And then also, I'm distracted now. I need to turn this off because...
Are you listening?
On Periscope, Bob and Tom just joined the Periscope, and I want to know who that was. Has to be Vibert. But we got a note from one other computer. Thank you also to Tyler for donating.
Thank you for having me on.
Joshua Lachlan. I know that because he put a little note as to how to pronounce his name on his donation. He said, "Buy Jeremiah that pizza you owe him. Love your show. I started listening to podcast because of it. I also got my wife to start listening to podcast because of it. Thanks for all you do, Joshua Lachlan. I still messed your name up.
Joshua, thank you.
Yeah, so I will not be using that money to buy Jeremiah a pizza because Jeremiah was warned that he would be buying my pizza that day, and that's just tough shit, buddy.
Hey, we are libertarians, and personal responsibility is at the core of everything we believe. And so if he wants a pizza, he needs to buy it himself.
I told him, I said, listen, so Jeremiah picked me up because I was depressed, and he said, hey, buddy, I want to take you out. I'll buy pizza. He said, let's go to pizza. And I said, okay, that's fine, but tomorrow's payday, and I've got $7. I have $7 in cash.
And you're just early on in the divorce where
Yeah.
finances were getting split up and divvied up.
And so I said, listen, dude, I'm going to warn you. You're buying. I'll pay $7, but that's all I got. I said it 3 different times. And then when the check came, where's your money? I said, that's what I have. $7.
Damn.
This is income based, right?
I would have took your ass to CC's and been like, here,
Yeah.
Take some home.
give me the
Little
$2 other
Caesars,
dollars
yeah.
for gas money.
No, he took me to Giacomo's.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit. What'd you get? What'd you get? A pepperoni?
No, they got a legit one too.
Oh, and I
they got
talked-
one of the specialty ones.
And I talked him into the Slaughterhouse 5.
Yep.
We need a large. We need a large. Yeah, I'll take the extras home.
Breadsticks and cheese sauce. Can I get some garlic parmesan as well?
You're looking at three figures on that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with
No.
drinks.
Oh, yeah. Well, I get water.
Yeah.
Because I'm aggressively hydrated.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. This is I drink these Nalgene bottles. You know, they're 32 ounces. This is the 5th one I've had today.
Good.
Yeah, I drink like a gallon of water a day.
I don't know if you got my Snapchat or not, but I was at the bar earlier and I saw someone just had those sitting there on the bar. I was like, well, shit, Spangle's been here. Because you leave a trail of them everywhere everywhere you're at.
Everywhere I go, I always
The
have 2 or 3.
breadcrumbs.
Yeah, they
He can
are. So he can find his way
back.
home
Yeah.
when he goes into a
I'm
water coma.
overhydrated.
Yeah, I'm very, very healthy.
Does coffee count as water?
No.
Yeah, it does.
No, it
It's-
dehydrates you.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
No,
it does.
That's a common misconception.
Yeah.
I don't agree with
And
you.
it cures cancer.
Yeah.
I read it on a blog.
And it re-heals your liver.
Listen,
Exactly,
I was
yeah.
on Tumblr.
Yeah, I was on Tumblr. Triggered! Doing my daily self-flagellation for being a white male and a cis scumlord.
Yeah.
But
You know, we just in the last episode, in the last podcast posted in this feed was not the last Weird Libertarians. It was actually the relaunch of Creating Maya. And Maya, what?
Huh?
Do you have,
No.
I mentioned a transgender person's name and you start laughing?
I was actually looking at my phone, but
Okay.
yeah, that is a good name, though.
And so, Maya and I have been friends for a very long time, and it was a little weird when she came out as trans. And the whole podcast that we did from year 1 to 2 of her transition, and then we decided to do on her 4th anniversary a catch-up podcast. And you can go back and check all the other ones out in the other feed. Don't worry, we're not putting it in the feed. I got a couple comments like, you always put things that aren't the show in the feed. It's like, yeah, because we have like 1 million subscribers to this feed, and I want to drive traffic. So thank you to everybody for subscribing to all of our new podcasts. The Creating Maya podcast. I'm going to start actually doing some stuff on the Chris Spangle Show podcast. We put out the show report and Storytime with Gina from long ago out in iTunes and on Google Play if you want to go back and catch up on some of that. And we also launched the Gary Johnson podcast, so you can go back and check out some. Yeah, I know it's terrible for you Trump supporters.
I'm not a Trump supporter. I just like his hat and fashion style.
he's got
Yeah.
swag.
He does.
I've never seen someone wear a hat with a blue blazer and a white button-up shirt
with no
everywhere.
tie.
He's.
And it looks cool, like shockingly.
So to finish
He's
the
got
podcast roster, there's also Raw Audio Politics, where I basically take YouTube videos and put up raw audio of speeches, of interviews, of whatever. I don't know about the IP laws on that. I give full credit whenever I post the audio and the YouTube videos. And then so you can get those 3 new podcasts and our old podcast. Everything's back out there. Back in iTunes. So just go to iTunes and search for We Are Libertarians, or you can go to wearelibertarians.com, and on the front page, you too can get the new podcast, download all of the episodes of We Are Libertarians, listen to all of them if you'd like. You can make a donation. You can check out our Path to Libertarianism. It's our guide to what is a libertarian, to the 3 basic principles of libertarianism. And also there's Upward, which is candidate training, activism training. And in those 2 specific areas coming soon, look for new podcasts on both activism and on the basics of libertarianism. So lot coming down the pipe from the We Are Libertarians universe, and I can tell you it is all because of the donations that you guys, the support. Once you start to see, the way that you guys are supporting us, that gives new wind in our sails. That's why we've been consistent. That's why we're updating the website, putting new stuff up all the time. And it's got me motivated to do well for you guys. And everybody on Team We Are Libertarians, I think, is pumped.
Yeah, absolutely. This is great. I love it. We're gonna really increase. You deserve production value for contributing, and so we're gonna try to ramp it up and give it to you.
And I'll tell you, we have added over 400 new people to the Facebook page, 400 new likes this week alone, and it's because we're taking those contributions and putting it towards advertising, boosting posts, buying likes, and basically you buy likes by advertising to specific groups of people, for instance. So you are helping contribute to the growth of the show. Lots of big plans coming in the future. A lot of things in my head that I have to put on paper and then figure out how to do that.
A lot of top-down, centrally planned libertarianism headed towards you.
Absolutely.
Seems natural.
So thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Greg, you posted something last night. Was it you that posted something? I haven't had a chance to check the website.
No, Creighton. Creighton is apoplectic about the situation of the Republic. He doesn't recognize his country anymore. He can't vote for Gary Johnson because he's a wasted vote party, or wasted vote kind of guy.
Okay.
Donald Trump is everything Creighton hates,
of course,
and it's Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, non-starters.
Yeah.
One kills people for a living, and the other one feels the burn. And
So what is he going to do?
Chastise the rest of America until they get their act together. That'll be effective.
All right.
Nothing works to quiet an angry mob like reason and logic.
Hold on just a second. Hey, Harry.
What's up?
Can you turn that light off, please? I didn't snap. Far left switch. Thank you, Harry. It's interfering with the video. So, no, Tyler actually got it. There's a long
Libertarians in video quality?
Right?
Right?
Shit. Excellent segue.
One of the fastest ways that we've ever grown is when we used to Google Hangout and record, live stream these and put them on YouTube and archive them. It wasn't the live streaming. It was the archiving of the video with the current events, and that made it,
It created SEO hits, tons.
Basically, and so that's what we're doing. We're doing that. Harry, you actually came to us because of that.
Yeah, correct.
So we're going to take video. In this video this week, you get to see the other three guys. You don't get to see me. And so, but there's a long-running joke that Harry, one time when he was here, we were doing the show, and somebody knocked on the door, and Harry was the closest to the door. I'm kind of trapped back in my little fortress here. And so I just innocently, without thinking, said, "Hey, Harry, can you get the door, please?" And Greg, of course, made it racial.
Well, I watch out for these things. I'm known for my racist. I'm well known for my racism.
For my racist past.
for my racial sensitivity. Yes. There are many things you can say, but not that I am not racially sensitive.
Of course. I think we should talk about Austin Peterson first. I think that's kind of the thing that is on the top of my mind.
Yeah, and like Harry's segue was about the lack of video quality of the first Libertarian presidential debate back in February, where I don't know if it was a Nokia phone where you could exchange the covers, and that's what they used.
I think
to
it was
live
a
stream?
Razor.
It was a Razor.
It was a
Okay.
Razor.
I thought it was a Razor, but then it had a weird Instagram sepia filter, but kind of washed out.
That was mucus.
And then Blair Witch.
Somebody snotted on it.
You can actually see this video, and then you can get the podcast of that said debate in the Raw Audio Politics feed and the Gary Johnson feed. And I cleaned it up, so the audio in the podcast is a little bit better because I used some of my radio training to try and do my best to clean that audio up for you.
Skill?
Yes.
Skill? Oh,
so
spontaneous, orderly cleaning up of audio for the LP, thanklessly.
They could just had a Wi-Fi connection and just told the candidates to periscope themselves while on stage.
No one had a GoPro in the entire audience full of libertarians?
I know, yeah.
No, but yeah, so we were going to talk about the candidates and how people did. And did anyone watch it?
I didn't. No.
I
tried.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Or did anyone listen?
No,
watch
the
it.
audio.
An
The audio
overstatement.
for me was terrible too. I
Yeah.
tried.
Usually I can like stomach through like bad audio. Like if you listen to my podcast list, it's like, wow, this is some bad audio. I couldn't make it through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listen to podcasts that have technical issues halfway through the show, have
Mm-hmm.
to stop, turn it back on. Yeah.
It sounded like the mic was 7 feet away from. I don't know. It was just bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toilet microphones.
Yeah. It wasn't a good presentation for. It was promoted as the Libertarian Party's. I jokingly called it cotillion. It was our introduction to society on a massive stage, given the current situation between the Republicans and Democrats and the candidates they're putting forward. And so you have a race where I know there's always a challenge to get the presidential nomination for the LP, but this is a large number of entrants, isn't it?
No, this is a pretty fair amount of entrants.
But really quality entrants.
Yeah, I would say the three top tier candidates, and Gary Johnson, John McAfee, and I would include Austin Peterson in that top three, just because Austin has shown himself to be an effective messenger and has been able to build a pretty good following behind him. Those three are pretty commonly. They would be the nominee in any year.
Yeah.
So in 4 years ago, it was Gary Johnson versus Lee Reitz. Lee Reitz is a great guy, great libertarian, but Lee Reitz is a longtime party member who is a very pure libertarian, and is just not a two-term governor from New Mexico. So the choice was pretty clear, but there were like 10 other guys that ran. And then 4 years before that, it was Wayne Allen Root, Bob Barr.
Wasn't it Ron Paul in 08?
No. He ran as a Republican. He ran in '88 as a Libertarian.
That's right. Yeah, it was Republican. Then he got third, and then the Republican does what they do and suspend democracy and Democratic primaries.
Yes,
Paved the way for Trump.
and
no doubt.
That year was like Ernie Hancock and Wayne Allen Root and Bob Barr. And Bob Barr was, I think, for the most part, the clear choice. But he's a very controversial pick just because of his Republican past and former DOMA author.
That's the killer. You know, it's really hard to sell being the rather than like voting for it, being the author of the Federal Defense of Marriage Act.
And then before that,
centralization.
It was
Central.
Michael Badnarik. Michael Badnarik, not a politician, not a person with political experience, a guy who teaches Constitution classes around the country. I think he was the last of the picks that would be seen as. It was the presidential picks, other than I think Harry Brown. Harry Brown, if you Google his name and look him up, Harry Brown did a lot in the 90s, in the 92 and 96 elections, to bring people to the Libertarian Party. And a lot of people are Libertarians because of Harry Brown. I'm sorry, I keep yawning.
Well, we are talking about a Libertarian presidential debate.
Yeah,
I know.
We're debating the proper way to implement road privatization and yelling at each other.
See what?
Very low energy.
Listen,
Very low energy.
I am like a diesel engine. You get me going, I gotta stay constant. And I just sat down and like read and lounged for like an hour and a half before you guys got here. Never should have done it. You got to keep the motor going.
We'll get you going. We'll get to Trump.
You told me not to come till 7. I was prepared to be here.
I know.
At 5.
Ooh.
That would have been like a felony. That would have been like a hate crime almost against Canadians.
But Badnarik in 04 was really kind of the last of, all right, we need a presidential candidate. Which one of us is going to run? You know, and then Barr came in, and then we had Gary Johnson, and both with political experience.
Well, yeah, I mean, elected officials with an incredible track, with the kind of track record you can sell to libertarians, even the most pure.
Right.
Yeah. And then Ed Clark in 1980, because Gary Johnson has the most pure number of votes for a libertarian candidate, but Ed Clark had the highest per capita, so the amount of votes cast, because he had like 1.3% of the electorate that voted for him in 80.
He also had one of the Koch brothers as his vice presidential candidate. So.
Which you'd have never guessed.
Yeah. So, the Koch brothers, their history with the Libertarian Party is very interesting. They were involved in the Libertarian Party in the early days, and then they kind of saw that the third party and the Libertarian Party wouldn't exactly be the way to go. And so they started funding the Cato Institute, founded Reason. Fee,
Heritage for the economic stuff.
Heritage, yeah. I mean, the Heartland, I think.
Yeah.
Now a group that you and I are associated with and bringing new libertarians here locally, America's
Future Foundation,
Yep.
AFF. Which, those are all great, and those all spread liberty. But the Kochs, I think, got tired and saw the writing on the wall. They were making large financial contributions. They really were like, I guess you could say part of the early startup team to give it the venture capital it needed to get off the ground, get credibility.
Yes.
And if you look at it, it's interesting because like in 80, it's Clark. And then in 88, it's Ron Paul. So you have an elected Texas congressman who had a presence. It wasn't like he was some random house like Todorokita or somebody like that.
Yeah, even then, Texas Straight Talk, that was a newsletter going around the country, was very popular.
Very, especially when they got racist. Yeah. No, just kidding. But, Ron Paul, and so that was a really great launch and acceleration, but then it kind of had a period where it wandered around before it caught its surge with 2000. Who was the person in 2000?
I honestly don't know. I'll have to look it up.
All right. I mean, but Ron was always loosely affiliated, and he really championed a lot of the things. And then Gary looks because Gary and Ron both sought the Republican nomination in 2012.
Yes.
Gary was in the first debate, and then Ron was top three early on. Really probably should have been in it all the way to the end, but Gary couldn't find a coalition. Because he's Ron and Gary represent the same brand of the Liberty Caucus, and Ron is the god, and Gary's the new upstart, protege. But Gary was groomed to be a new brand of Western Republicanism within the party. And the American Conservative in 2009 did a full spread on him, talking about how he was the most, Time did on Rand, the most interesting man in the Republican Party, and the future strain of it and the platform of it. And then it's after he only got in the first debate and couldn't get any traction in New Hampshire, he took a little period and he pledged all his few supporters to Ron and told people to support him. But that's when the Libertarian Party in 2012 reached out to him to run.
Yeah, so the first candidate was John Hospers with Theodora Nathan. Tony Nathan actually just passed away. She's the first female in the history of the United States to get an electoral vote, because the Hospers-Nathan ticket, while only getting 3,000 votes in the United States, there was a Virginia delegate that just hated Nixon, and so he wouldn't cast his vote for Nixon, and so he gave it to Hospers-Nathan. Then Roger McBride and David Berglund, and then Ed Clark and David Koch. Dave Berglund ran in 84, Ron Paul in 88, Andre Maru in 92. That had to rhyme. That's the easy slogan.
Dr. Seuss.
Harry Brown in 96 and 2000.
And he's a great candidate and a great guy.
Yeah, he's written a lot of great books. You can go to theadvocates.org, where our friend Brett Bittner and Chloe Anagnos work, and get the Great Libertarian Offer. It's on my bookshelf over there. A lot of other books, and then Badnarik, Bob Barr, and Gary Johnson. I believe Gary Johnson will be our nominee this time.
But it's interesting because a lot of people like McAfee. Harry, do you guys have specific thoughts on the Libertarian? All three of you, who you like?
I like McAfee because he's a little crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. McAfee's crazy. I do respect him because, in the being an IT guy, I kind of looked up to read a lot of his stuff in the early '90s. But I'm kind of a Johnson guy, but I'm also a Darrell W. Perry guy, who did finish 3 votes behind Austin Peterson. A lot of the polls, so close number 4.
Darrell is a really good guy, and he is an absolute
anarchist.
I would say that. I mean, he's very, very pure.
Voting is rape.
Super pure.
He's not that bad.
Yeah, I know, but I mean that's that strain or his coalition.
The man who needs a microphone.
Yeah, Darrell Perry is definitely another person you ought to look up. Does various podcasts, writing, all that kind of stuff.
Does books, reprints books.
But I think for a lot of delegates, Gary Johnson is going to be the favorite son because he did a great job 4 years ago. You want somebody who is credible. You want somebody who is going to appeal to a Greg Lenz, somebody who looks at it and goes, "Listen, I don't know if I can support this guy. I'm a Republican." Or I'm a Democrat. I don't think I can vote for Hillary.
I can't vote for a neocon anymore. Period.
Right. And so, Gary appeals to Democrats in terms of his legalized drugs, criminal justice reform. He's pro-choice. And then on the Republican side, he is the person who has vetoed in the 8 years he was governor. He vetoed more bills than all 49 other governors combined.
Over 420 pieces of legislation came to his desk, and he vetoed or used a line item veto on 249.
Yeah.
That is wicked.
Yeah.
And he left New Mexico without a lot of revenues with $1 billion surplus.
Yeah.
That is freakish.
So he just has the experience. He's got the personal wealth because he started a handyman business and built it into one of the largest private contractors in the Southwest. And sold the business, and then is personally wealthy because of his hard work, and is somebody that he's got private sector executive experience, and he's got the executive experience with the governorship, and he talks about it in interviews, and in the interviews posted in that podcast feed. Listen, I went to the Libertarian Party in the early '90s when I thought about running for office. And it just was clear that I wasn't going to get elected as a Libertarian. And so I ran as a Republican, but I've been a card-carrying member for a very long time. And we don't have the bar problem where it looks like, all right, you're just trying to use this for ballot access.
You have the best situation on earth.
Yeah.
You have, in an election where people are where I think there's probably right now it feels like there's an unfound group of deserted voters.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to look at it and they're going to say, all right, if I took away the party labels, there is a one-term senator from New York that was a former first lady that failed on health care implementation, never authored a piece of legislation in her time in the Senate, ran for president the entire time there, voted for the Iraq War, and as Secretary of State saw a U.S. ambassador be killed, absolute unrest, complete social unrest in the Middle East, and a total changing of the guard for U.S. foreign policy. You could, realistically, Crimea was seized.
Yeah.
So that's not an impressive track record. Then, you say, but she's the first woman. Well, she's married to a guy that clearly it's not the first woman.
And it won't be the last one.
Then you look at Gary Johnson. You say two-term elected governor of New Mexico. A guy that is independently wealthy, like Chris said, that built JW Enterprises from a one-man truck handyman shop while he was in college to pay through school, and then sold it as independently wealthy. He rejected the establishment Republican Party in New Mexico, a state where it's 2-1 registered Democrats to Republicans, and resoundingly won. And they said there's no way he'll be able to do it. He doesn't have any government experience. He's a CEO, an outsider. He has no contacts. He's idealistic, and he comes in and just starts rejecting bill after bill after bill after bill after bill.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, and he really did. He was able to spin libertarianism populously, like as a populist. And I contend it is because it's about the equal application of everything. So that it's inherently, a populist. It's just rarely spun that way,
right?
But then he gets reelected against a Hispanic in a state with 61% Hispanic voters, and beats a popular mayor from Albuquerque. The guy is just excellent at everything he does.
He's also a really good person. I spent a lot of time with him in 2012. I think I've told in past episodes, the one with Sam, where he had just been nominated president, and he was our nominee for 2012, and walked into the back of the banquet room celebrating his victory. Wasn't really sure where to go, and so he sat down at the back table with Sam and I, and just sat there and had dinner with Sam and I and his fiance. And
he kissed the ring.
Yes, well, I speak for all libertarians.
How did he get by all your securities?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't
Did he
know.
have clearance?
Yeah, where was Sam during this?
But I was so tired of signing autographs. How many times do I have to sign your book here? So I know you get extra money.
Have you heard of Bastiat? Let me recommend this to you, Gary.
But he's got celiac disease. He's not one of those fake gluten people. He really can't eat gluten.
It's not a diet, for
right?
him.
But he's an extraordinary person on all levels, and he is somebody that I can confidently say. Sometimes you say, "Yeah, vote for that Libertarian," knowing that if that person gets elected, they can't really do the job very effectively. Especially a job as big and as tough as President of the United States. Gary could go and kick ass as president.
He would be better prepared than Ron Paul by far.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that hurts a lot of people's, because Ron Paul's God, but at the same time, Gary...
He was 80.
Yeah, like the difference between an executive and a senator is the executive starts from, I was elected to do a job, I have to spin my message from what I have to do. Mm-hmm. A senator, a congressman gets to start from, this is what I believe. There are no repercussions for me being a martyr. Yada,
right.
But then they don't have to go and make sure that no one sucks at one of their bureaus and they get in a political scandal, even through lack of oversight.
It's also managing, which he has the skills on
business,
the business side.
Oh, yeah.
So he's just the best qualified person that we've ever had running as president. He is a libertarian. He attracts people to the party. On the isidewith.com quiz, it was taken by like 3 million people in 2012. And he was the overwhelming favorite. So if people just voted on issues, if you walked into the ballot box and selected issues, Gary Johnson would have been our president, and not Barack Obama or Mitt Romney.
But then you're running out of Bernie Sanders and then poor people and greedy corporations, and then it's like, oh...
So go take the isidewith.com quiz, see where you fall. I was 89% with Gary Johnson and 69% with Donald Trump, 68 with Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate, 68 with Bernie Sanders, 67 with Ted Cruz, 33% with Hillary Clinton. So those were my results.
Damn, you're a third evil.
I know.
Tyler, now, you are going to be obviously voting for the Donald.
No.
Oh, you're no?
No.
What? Now I'm confused because you're his greatest supporter that I know.
No,
that's why you're here.
I support the man, and I love the show. I find it hilarious, and because he's destroying single-handedly all politics.
He's changed
pretty much
every
across
rule
the
that's
board.
ever been written.
It's just amazing. We're witnessing history right now. I don't know if you've...
Before we move on to the Donald, because I have very concise and well thought out thoughts, because I've been obsessed with them for 2 weeks.
We've talked about this.
But Austin Peterson is, I don't know what he's doing. I like Austin. I worked with him in 2010 when he was the volunteer coordinator for the National Party. I was the executive director of the Libertarian Party of Indiana. I found him to be very competent, very likable. I've run into him a couple times at events. He's a very likable guy. I've heard through the grapevine that he's an arrogant douche. But when
I hear that from women, though.
Yeah, but when your online persona is arrogant douche, of course, people are going to kind of say that about you. But I've always liked Austin, and I think that he was John Stossel's producer. He runs Libertarian Republic, which is a great website, a website that we like and recommend and have talked about on the podcast before. He is somebody that can communicate the libertarian message. I don't know who his buddy Tony Stiles is, honestly. I guess he's some sort of libertarian celebrity that I have missed.
You don't know a celebritarian?
I guess. I don't know.
I feel like they just pop up out of nowhere all the time now.
They don't have to kiss the ring before they get that title?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I have been accused today and every other day for the last 8 years of being the official voice of libertarianism, but that is not the case.
You didn't ask for it. It was granted to you.
So Nick Sarwark is the National Libertarian Chair, the Reince Priebus, Debbie Wasserman Schultz of the Libertarian Party, essentially. And the way that the Facebook runs on the Libertarian Party is it's orchestrated by the vice chair, a guy named Arvin Vahora, and a group of volunteers, and they have a Facebook group, and they generate content in this group and work it out and post stuff, and it's a very collaborative effort as opposed to just putting all the work on one person. And it also makes sure that there's a balanced view that goes on to the Facebook page, and it's kind of checks and balances for the Libertarian Party. Someone posted some independent political report, which is just an absolute sewer of...
It's a meme sewer.
It's not even a meme sewer.
Word.
It's like 10 libertarians that love to get on there and talk about... just have flame wars, basically. But unfortunately, it is the only place that a lot of Libertarian Party news is posted in terms of what's going on at the LNC. And so a lot of people go to it, and it's just a bad first impression for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's really like an Insider's Digest.
So,
I mean, really.
Truthfully, a lot of what we're trying to do is give you names so then you can go and look up Nick Sarwark, or you can go and look up what's happening. You know who Sam Goldstein is and why he's running for vice chair. You know about McAfee, Peterson, and Gary Johnson. So we're trying to offer you a different point of view, one that's a little more fair.
And Nick is a great guy. Like, I've never met him in person, but he loves making fun of Brett Bittner. And if you like to make fun of Brett Bittner, you're a friend of mine.
Sarwark,
Go Dogs.
Sarwark's disgrace is nominating Noda at the 2012 convention in Las Vegas, which led to Mark Rutherford, my dear friend, losing the chair's race by 2 votes. 1 vote. Yeah, it was one vote. Yeah.
And the guy went on vacation?
It was one person. One person from Indiana went and visited her sister.
Yeah.
And had she been there, Mark would have been elected chair because he got 50%, and you had to have 50 plus 1.
And I'd have liked to seen Austin Peterson try to do to Mark what he's doing to Nick will take it. Mark would have probably issued a hit.
Yeah. Mark Rutherford is running for chair, as you may have seen on WeareLibertarians.com. And you've heard him on this program before. He's challenging Nick Sarwark, the current chair. And Austin Peterson took this link that was a Gary Johnson link and spun it out of proportions and made it sound like he's the outsider of the party, and the establishment Facebook page of the Libertarian Party.
Wonder where he got that idea.
Right. Is not... I mean, he's basically running a presidential campaign where he is attacking the Libertarian Party for having being establishment, and he's the anti-establishment candidate of the anti-establishment party, and it's so silly. Like we talked about this with Wallace last week. You can't be an there is no establishment in the Libertarian Party. Like, you've heard us talk in the past few episodes as we have discussed the Libertarian Party. If you want to be the Libertarian Party establishment, like, show up to a meeting and you're it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the people who care enough to show up and donate their time.
Right. There aren't kingmakers. There are a group of committed people who want to protect the brand, but I think that, that's why a lot of Republicans are freaking out about Donald Trump. They don't feel he's a conservative.
And they won't have access. That's the killer. In a town run on access and influence, they are shut out.
I don't buy that. I think he's the ultimate insider playing outsider. I mean, here's a guy who's, but we'll get into him later. I mean, but more than anything, he is, in the eyes of National Review and a lot of other groups, he's not a conservative. And so they ideologically don't like Donald Trump. Austin Peterson is, so in an effort to stick it to the Libertarian Party, he put the phone number of the national chairman out on Facebook.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I know, it's really shameful.
Yeah, isn't that a horrible thing to do to somebody, Chris?
I know, that's kind of why my post was ironic today.
I know.
Because I did that to you. But
how many dick pics did you get? None?
I guarantee you, because anyways, so I'll finish that thought in a minute. But Tony Stiles, I guess, tweeted it out saying, let the chairman know that this is unfair, basically asking their supporters to harass the national chairman, who was not responsible for the post and had nothing to do with it. And then, Peterson endorsed it by reposting it.
Yeah.
And so I wrote.
He was trying to create a quote unquote shitstorm.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
does that not violate the INAP?
It does. I'm sorry.
The INAP.
It's just asking. It's encouraging your people to harass somebody. And when you're in a delegate fight, and I made a post on We Are Libertarians, which turned into a giant shitstorm.
On purpose.
March 17th. Well, I mean, listen, got a lot of likes out of it. A lot of people discovered We Are Libertarians through it. So I can't be that upset about it.
Turnabout's fair play.
But I basically said, listen, I like Austin, but this is a childish and immature thing for a person who wants to represent the party. And it's also ineffective because you're trying to win delegates. And as we discussed last week, when you're in a delegate fight, it's about winning friends and influencing people. You can't go out and say on our Facebook page that libertarians are a bunch of losers like Austin did. You're trying to win over people you're asking 1,000 people, delegates, to support you. You know,
It's hard enough to get him out to vote, let alone
Right,
call
and-
him a dickhead.
Right.
You know?
You're tarnishing the vessel you want to take you into a presidential race. That's a
Right.
terrible strategy.
It
Look
just-
at this awful thing, and then you ride in the parade to the presidency.
It just doesn't work like that.
No.
You know, and harassing the person who has enough friends in the party, and it's not friends, but enough support, enough consensus within the party that because he's been around long enough, harassing him doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense. You know, I'm not saying that you have to listen. We time and time again here, and we are libertarians, raise issues like this. Like, I like Austin personally. I'm glad that he's running for president. I think that Austin is an effective messenger of libertarianism, and I'm glad that he's bringing people into the party. I think this particular move was a dick move. And so, you know, we oftentimes will be critical and raise issues and say, here's the problem. You can certainly do that, and there's ways to do that. But when you're just like creating flame wars, and that is how you're trying to drive your message to the presidency, that works for Donald Trump, but that doesn't work in the Libertarian Party and when you're trying to win delegates.
Especially the messaging difference.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, some of them is like trying to mimic almost like a meta James Neese, but like doing it
Yeah.
all wrong.
And you don't have that kind of swag.
Yeah.
Like he was one of the original people on 4chan, bro. You can't run that kind of campaign, and
Yeah.
it's counterproductive.
James
and,
was not.
Yeah. No, and I probably, well, the way he's acting, I don't know. He could have been. I can neither confirm nor deny. You know, the way he's acting in Austin, I really do like where he's at philosophically, because Austin brings an approach to libertarianism that is global and not educational.
Mm-hmm.
He applies libertarianism to the current events in the world, which is something we try to do.
Yeah.
And that is rare in the libertarian circles. And Gary can handle it, but Gary sticks to educational, really, and he picks 2 or 3 core issues and then really tries to form a coalition around that and get into voting blocks in areas where he thinks he can peel people off.
Right.
And then McAfee's just the true... he's interesting, I guess, and he's well behaved.
He hates the government, wants to do something about it.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
he does.
And then he's also only right now in a post-Snowden world is he relevant.
Right.
You know, his expertise could not be any more relevant, especially to libertarianism and constitutional republicanism. He is your guy. And I think a ticket of him and Johnson and then McAfee at the 2.
Yeah, that's...
Man, you have expertise that doesn't exist in either party if you put all the rest of the elected representatives together.
Yeah.
Two really smart guys.
Yeah.
You know?
So
And accomplished and effective.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess my post was not meant to be mean to Austin, or as some of the non-thinking commenters in that post who exercise their little brains just enough to type a comment but not actually think while doing it. I'm not being critical of Austin, saying he's not welcome in the Libertarian Party. He certainly is. He was hired by the Libertarian Party. I liked working with him. I read his stuff. You know, and I'm not the type of person who is that small tent person. I just think that this was a dick move. And, you know, I think a lot of what's going on right now is there are people within the party doing things that are just not cool. And, you know, we have developed a voice here and just say, listen, that kind of people don't call others out because they're afraid of it, or they send messages in private, and that doesn't work. It's like, you know what? Put him on blast, because that's what he likes. That's what he wants. He wants the fight. Austin wants it.
I'm sure this will get promoted on his Facebook page.
But I would love to have Austin on. I'd like to have Gary and John McAfee and Austin on. You know, I wish we could do a debate, but I know John Stossel's going to do a better one than we will.
And that only exists because of Austin. Like, he doesn't get enough credit for that. He is the reason there is a presidential debate on Fox because Austin Peterson.
Austin Peterson was John Stossel's producer, and he is the reason there's debate, and he should get a ton of credit for it.
Yes.
You know, I certainly think that Austin should be heard. When you see criticism, we've got all kinds of comments about infighting. This is politics.
No one's paying attention.
Right.
They couldn't see or hear anything.
You know how hard it is to get libertarian messaging in front of committed conservative or Republicans and Democrats,
Right.
and even get them to pay attention unless you're mocking the side they're mocking.
Yeah.
They're not watching. The only people that are watching are libertarians.
Or even committed libertarians.
Right.
Yeah.
I have taken a lot of shit over the last 3 months for causing infighting. And let me say this right now. The Libertarian Party and libertarian politics is politics. And if you have a problem with politics, then you shouldn't get involved.
Go write a book.
Because politics involves politics. And that means that people will have disagreements. And that means that people will talk about other people publicly. And just because you feel uncomfortable and things make you uncomfortable, it doesn't mean that I'm some sort of villain.
Well, the Libertarian Party has been a safe space for infighting for years. Yeah. And now it's being introduced and getting enough exposure and enough people with it's getting some philosophical diversity that hasn't existed, and some more pragmatic types that are really, Rand Paul libertarians that are now saying this is counterproductive and you're going to lose. Here's how you should do it because this is how it's been done before.
Mm-hmm. With the Jim Wallace stuff that we talked about last week, I got a lot of criticism saying I should have just been quiet. I shouldn't have brought it up. And that's exactly the problem, is that it looks like infighting if you bring it up. And then people, it's a self-esteem problem that libertarians have. They don't want to talk about the elephant in the room, and they don't want to have discussions or arguments. I have not done anything online that is vitriolic, unfair,
you posted
untrue.
My cell phone number publicly.
But that's because you're my friend, so I can treat you like shit.
I know, I'm kidding.
But when it comes down to a person that I have a disagreement with, I treat them with a lot of respect. It's just my friends I treat like crap. Because I have given you permission to make memes where I'm effing Justin Bieber from behind. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I totally get it.
Right.
The harder you rustle somebody, the closer friends you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think...
But so there's this thing where if there's disagreements or these flame wars on Facebook or whatever, a Republican's just going to go, pfft. One of these disaffected Republicans is going to go, well, they're just no better than the Republicans. They're no better than the Democrats. You know what? I'm sorry your sensitive little pussy eyes got offended by seeing a heated discussion on Facebook. If you're that stupid and obtuse that you see arguments on Facebook and then decide that all libertarians and every person who votes or organizes within the Libertarian Party is that way, then you're an idiot. Because there is a ton of groupthink that goes on with libertarians. They're just as collectivist as the other parties because they associate... Greg and I are not the same person.
No.
Just because I say some shitty stuff about somebody doesn't mean that Greg agrees.
No, I mean, I'll back you up publicly no matter what,
Right.
but then I'll be like, what were you doing?
Yeah. And vice versa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it boggles my mind. Like, there was an event where, I hope you guys aren't going to be mean to the candidates there because you're mean to Jim Wallace.
There's a vetting process.
Are you?
Yeah.
Wait. It's
I
like
promise I
family
won't shove
being
his head
mean,
into a
though.
wall and spit on his kid.
Yeah. But it's like family being mean to each other. It's what people do.
Well,
They're not like deep
it's not
schisms.
it's not even
like you're
mean. It's
forming like splinter groups.
we're now at a point in our growth where people are vetting candidates in public.
Well, I think the as far as all of us, because we've held the libertarian ideas for some time, is we understand the core values of libertarianism, and we're not trying to debate what we should be doing.
Whether the NAP is valid or not.
Yeah, I think it's more just tinier petty things, and then people look at that and see, oh, well, they're bickering and all this. And as far as libertarians go who are running for office against another libertarian, I don't understand the shit spewing between candidates, because at the core you all have the same values, I would hope, but you're running to get elected. You're not running against... Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I agree. Yeah. I agree. And the fact
trying
that
to be the most electable.
You've built a platform that now attracts outside parties who would have never considered it before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they may or may not be as philosophically pure as what you're used to.
But when you're coming from, let's say, a Republican Party and looking in on a libertarian, that looks like... Because I see the arguments all the time, and I'm just like, well, this is just Facebook.
Yeah.
Because you're a thinking person.
But yeah, because I'm used to. I'm not taking it at face value. I can see through it and what the main argument
Tyler's
is.
over there memeing that person's face on the heaviest things we carry are our feels.
Yeah, I'm just on Facebook to piss people off.
Yeah.
I don't. It's the internet, people.
Yeah. It's not real
It's not
life.
real.
I wish some of these people would just stay off the net.
I know,
The
yeah.
internet was so much better.
Remember when you had to
96?
actually like log on?
Yeah.
It also
have to figure
and all
out how to
these
run a
stupid
computer.
It
plebs
also
had to stay in
is-
the AOL box was all so much better.
Yeah, it also is partly the problem with positioning yourself as the anti-establishment candidate, and you're running against the Libertarian Party. All you do is set everybody up for failure because you're probably not going to win, which is why you chose that tact. And then your supporters are just going to feel unwelcome the second you get any criticism or when you don't win the nomination. So you really do everybody a disservice. And secondly, Libertarian Party people should not hold themselves up as the ethical ideal. I mean, Libertarian candidates, by and large, are more ethical. They are more willing to be civil and thoughtful and discuss ideas.
Unless it's Bernie Sanders sometimes.
Right. But this is still human beings trying to interact with each other, and especially on Facebook where it's not personal at all. I mean, you're totally removed from somebody. It's why we drive aggressively. Do you know why we drive aggressively? Because you are not road raging with another human being. You're not recognizing their empathy. Your brain is arguing with a car.
I don't care that she is having a heart attack and in the right lane. She needs to get out of it so I can get to the office.
Right.
You're arguing with a cat profile picture on Facebook.
Right.
It's even more fun.
You guys are the worst drivers out there. I drive, very defensively. I drive like I'm in the middle of a NASCAR race. I'm trying to finish the race, get points, not exactly win, just enough points so I get ready for the chase, and then I win. This way I get more sponsorships.
Damn.
Then you win the Winston-Salem Cup.
Oh, dang, that's a good one.
So I guess I don't understand my own point quite, but I guess I'm probably kind of going, give the Libertarians a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is such a weird thing that I have seen over the years where it's like, well, the Libertarian Party is you're just trying to find any kind of excuse to not join and not do hard work. And so you give yourself an excuse by saying, oh, they're not X, so I'm walking away. Really, that's just you being a lazy jerk and not recognizing that if you show up and you work hard, you are the Libertarian establishment. And Austin.
Now you're a target.
Austin Peterson is not he's not the anti-establishment. The dude collected a paycheck from the party at one point. And
They bought him.
Right.
They own him.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not saying that to be a dick. I'm just saying, he's positioning himself, and it's not the truth. The truth is, you show up, you be decent to people, you're part of the quote-unquote establishment.
And the reality of the situation is this, is he is a Libertarian Republican that is running for the LP nomination, right?
Yeah.
There isn't, I feel a lot of what he's doing is trying to, in a way, replicate what either Ted Cruz or Donald Trump's slightly doing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. To harness outsider angry at the establishment and channel that into change within a new vessel. The reality is, though, you're not going to pull away a bunch of Republicans to join the LP, vote for you as a delegation.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Did you see the news story today?
No.
About the secret meeting that might pledge quite a bit of money to third party
Who?
to stop Trump?
Wow.
Yeah, but
I just heard on.
But
That'd be
that's
great.
money. No one's going to throw
No,
away
I
the
know.
But
Republican
join the party,
membership
become
and,
delegates.
no
Well,
one's going to throw away the
Because that's what matters.
We also talk, the Libertarian Party, part of why we're discussing this is continuing to talk about what goes on in the Libertarian Party so you have an idea. It's all delegate based.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the same messaging. It's not the same tactics that you would use as you would if you were running in a primary.
Right.
There are primaries. Austin Peterson won Missouri. Yeah. Gary Johnson was not on the ballot there. Gary Johnson won North Carolina. And Austin's home state is Missouri. So
didn't win Colorado. Austin Peterson did not win Colorado.
who won?
McAfee, did he? Or no?
I think it was McAfee.
I would think he
but
was
Austin
there.
Peterson wasn't on the ballot in Colorado because they don't see his membership as valid because he didn't sign up for the
NAP.
Yeah.
He won't sign the pledge.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like me. I joined, because this is relevant to me, I joined to support a guy I really believe in and think is the best choice in the governor's race for Indiana. And the Indiana LPIN is exceptional. Like, they're incredibly great people. They're well organized.
Absolutely.
They're committed as all hell because they don't get any. I mean, you did it. You don't get any thanks ever.
No.
And if you
I do now, 3 years later.
right, because they never understood what they had, and then it's like, what do you mean this doesn't exist? It used to. Like, yeah, but that was on Windows XP 95. Now we're, no one
Right.
updated it because no one knew to.
Right.
And so, no, seriously, like
That's
like lists and voter data and that kind of stuff. Like, but that's the reality of the situation is you are the establishment if you show up, period.
Yeah.
Because you're there and donating your time, you are the Bush. You're Jeb.
Yeah.
Yep. And then with Austin, though, like, Austin's probably not going to hang around the LP.
He didn't. After he stopped working for them, he didn't show up. I mean, I saw him at ISFL, Students for Liberty Conference, but I didn't see him at the National Libertarian Conventions. He hasn't been going out and speaking. His friend Tony Stiles has spoken at Libertarian conventions. So I just don't. And I'm not saying that that's a smear against him. I'm just saying it's like. It's different in the Libertarian Party because it is a delegate race. It is not.
It's a political party.
Because Gary Johnson, John McAfee, and Austin Peterson all won primaries. That doesn't mean shit.
Right.
Because it doesn't go to the convention. What happens is you go to the convention, you're given some tokens. If you get enough tokens, then you're on the ballot for the delegates to vote. Delegates are,
you go into a back room and you pick.
No, that's no. What happens is
That's what Dear Leader does.
this is why the GOP could never take us over. Is because the delegates are selected at state conventions. When we go to the Indiana convention, I will say I won't be there. Don't select me. And then we get a certain number of delegates. It's anywhere from 20 to 40, depending on certain formulas. And then the 20 or 40 people who are going get selected as the official delegates of Indiana. And then there's alternates. And then we try to get those alternates sat in other delegations that might not have all of their delegates filled. So Indiana will sometimes, because we can get so many people there, we'll get people placed in Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, Illinois delegations. So because the goal is if somebody's going to spend the time and money to go, they should be able to vote if they can. Yeah. And it's up to the Georgia Convention to say, yeah, it's cool if little Brett Bittner is a delegate for us.
That's never cool.
Right. So
now, is that with two D's? Little?
Little.
Liddle, which was the craziest shit I've ever heard Trump say. And so that's how it works. And so the delegates, the people voting for president, they show up and then there's a secret ballot. And then, you win states and delegates and then it's just not the same. Like it's there. So when you're dealing with a delegate situation, your whole goal is to think about the people that are going to be selected to be delegates at any convention, a state convention for the Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, any party. It is the people who are the most committed to the Libertarian Party, the people who have been there for a long time and putting a lot of sweat into it. A lot of times, this is their hobby. These are not kingmakers, okay? These are people who work jobs in warehouses and are hardworking blue-collar guys or are accountants or this is their hobby. This is the thing that they do in their free time. They go out, they work fairs, they
spend their own money.
They spend all of their own money.
Barely gets a travel budget.
Yeah, and
barely,
of
no
the
pay.
National Party.
The National Party.
Literally, there are probably 20 paid professionals in the Libertarian Party across the nation at every level.
And most of them are part-time contractors.
Yes. And the people that are showing up are not the establishment. These are hardworking, good people who have spent their whole lives dedicated to growing the Libertarian Party so that you, my friends, duddle up, have a third choice on your ballot. And so when you go out and you rail against the party as your anti-establishment, you're actually shoving your finger in those people's eyes. And you come across as a giant dick, and you get to the convention and realize, oh, wait, maybe I don't have enough tokens. Because you don't know how the process worked.
People
know?
think it's easy. You just go in and check a box
No.
on voting day.
No.
I'm
Libertarian.
running
There
for
you go.
libertarianism.
Yeah.
No more roads.
Yeah,
Right.
Elect me.
I don't think people realize how involved the process
hard.
actually is because there's
Right.
rules to play by. I know libertarians don't like rules.
And when you're
in
a
government.
volunteer, you don't love it when an outsider comes in and says, "Here's how you should be doing it better, and this is why you're done."
yeah, I mean it's
Even if that person was John Stossel's producer, like there's, it's
Sweat
there-
equity matters.
There's just
Right.
a level of
Yeah.
respect
Bring-
that
make the
people.
coffee.
Yeah, and this is the problem. The reason that I think that these guys are not showing enough respect to the delegates is that they don't know them. They don't understand the people that they're actually besmirching, and they're counting on people not seeing their, I just continually hear, this campaign blocked me because it's like a troll campaign. It's, it's just disheartening, especially
self-sabotage.
right.
Really.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying. I mean, I guess it comes across like I'm smearing Austin in the
No, because
campaign.
he benefits liberty huge. I mean, his
Yeah,
contribution
it
with the
just-
Stossel debate is arguably more of a contribution than anyone's done. Period.
I guess I'd wish I just don't have the chance to sit down with him, and I'm kind of venting my frustration because I know the guy, and I know that like
He's sharp. He's a
It's
great
like-
messenger.
that kind of thing. It just is mean, And listen, I know I'm mean, and I know I'm sarcastic, and I know I'm a troll.
But it's to Republicans and Democrats that are well paid and well fed.
And to my friends,
Yeah.
But the people like Greg Noland, who is the Madison County chair, who has done this for 15 years and puts his heart and soul into 3 or 4 big events every year to raise $2,000 for his county party, who spends thousands of dollars of his own money going to these kind of events. When he's not a wealthy guy, he drives an early 2000s Saturn. But he's just passionate, and he never has help. He's got candidates and he's got people that come in and out, but by and large, he's the county party. That's the establishment. And, to look that guy in the eye and call him a loser, you're not going to do it. So why would you do it online? So I don't know. That's the Libertarian Party. The Libertarian Party is grassroots. And when these people come in and when they come in and they just say like, well, all the Libertarian Party is all this infighting, blah blah blah. It's like you don't know what you're talking about. You're just.
Here in Indiana, which is exceptionally well organized, you have to put your own money forward to get matched for your signs for your own race in your own district. That isn't he's treating the Libertarian Party in this race like he can model existing current relevant election styles, and it will apply, and people will say, "Oh, look, someone's sticking it to the," when the reality is, one, no one's paying attention. Mm-hmm. There's no coalition. You're not gonna bring over 30% of Democrats because you're pro-union. That doesn't exist in the LP delegate race. And two, you're sabotaging yourself because you're excellent in so many ways, Austin. You are so credible. You're young. You won the debate. I haven't talked to anyone that said he lost the debate. Everyone said he won, but it's Gary Johnson and John McAfee. You're Stossel's former field producer, which is huge in a traditionally libertarian race. Mm-hmm. This is Gary Johnson, a 2-term elected Republican governor veto, and then the guy whose antivirus software is named after him. It's like the most well recognized outside of Norton that exists.
Right.
Prefer a Vast though. Don't get a McAfee. It's not the same as it was in the
No,
90s.
not after he left.
Yeah,
You're such a technology
You want to get a
hipster.
Vast.
I just want you to say one time that something I like that's normal is good. You racist.
This beer that I'm drinking is pretty good, even though it has 210 calories.
Twice the alcohol though.
No wonder I'm
Twice
getting
alcohol,
fat.
though. But but the thing is, Austin Peterson, bring up Darrell W. Perry, barely got 4 votes more than Darrell W. Perry. He was nowhere. Darrell W. Perry was nowhere close of not Austin Peterson, but McAfee and Gary Johnson. But he barely beat Daryl W.
Right.
Well, who doesn't even have the type of resources as Austin Peterson.
His philosophical stance is that he doesn't want to win the election because that would be aggression against others and telling people how to live.
Yeah.
And yet he still got more delegates.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he got close, close. Yeah, he's 4 points.
The guy who's running as a kamikaze tied you, and it's because you have to appreciate the effort people put in if you want to exploit the platform.
But Daryl is also somebody that is well known. He lives in New Hampshire. He comes to every convention. He comes to. He is a guy that he writes books. He does podcasts. He has a publishing company. He is a guy who is deeply passionate about liberty and libertarianism.
Establishment.
And
Establishment anarchist.
Right. And it's just so ridiculous. It's just insane. It's.
And we don't want to harp on this too much, but we
have to
do
make
want to
that
give a
known.
voice to the people who are being called losers and don't deserve it at all because all they do is volunteer.
Yeah.
And it's behavior like that creates distrust, especially if Austin were to form a little coalition. People say, what's the point? I'm a loser. I don't want to go help this guy win.
He comes off in it for himself other than for the party to me.
Like build name ID. But you know what? That's the problem is if deep down your motivation is just to build name ID for your personal brand, do you really want your personal brand to be divisive and mean and awful?
People forget.
I guess that's something you and I ought to sit down and talk about, Greg. We ought to think about how we come off.
I look at it in a long
we hold
term.
people accountable.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look at it as a long term
Right.
shots. What he's looking at.
Right. And that's part of my problem with Donald Trump. Is Donald Trump is not thinking about how things will, Donald Trump thinks short term because he, like Joe Scarborough said recently on an interview, I think it was on With All Due Respect, which is a fantastic show. It airs on Bloomberg TV, also replays at 6 p.m. on MSNBC. It's on the Bloomberg TV app. It's by Mark Halperin and John Heil, the guys that do the circus on Showtime, which is a fantastic show.
Great show.
They wrote the book Game Change. It's a fantastic show. It really kind of gives you a good perspective into what establishment media is thinking, and
Podcast establishment, is that what we are?
right.
Please, I love it.
I can't wait to get together with Tom Woods and Jason Stapleton and have our monthly establishment meeting.
Talk about how we're going to keep out all these upstart podcasters.
Right.
Keep them down.
I got to buy this week or month.
Yeah. But so what you're basically saying for the last few minutes, you guys are basically just trying to give a voice to the voiceless of the quote-unquote losers out there, or just telling them thank you, because they have thankless jobs.
Yeah,
Yes, thank
absolutely.
you. Yeah,
if you're one of those grassroots people out there doing the work, if you're in the Republican Party and you are trying to change the party from the inside, if you're a Bernie Democrat supporter and you listen to this podcast because you identify with libertarian values and you're working hard and you're out there trying to make a difference, we appreciate you and thank you.
Yes.
And
our critiques of Austin are what you're doing isn't working, and it's going to ensure you lose and burn bridges in the event you ever pursue it again. Do it well. You have the opportunity to be successful, to represent libertarianism well and the brand of or strain of libertarian republicanism. Why, in the name of creating a shitstorm, would you give up the long-term opportunity of being a real brand ambassador, even far surpassing, because of your media access, a Gary Johnson?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why would you want to burn bridges? Why would you want to make an enemy of people, of anyone? Like if you're building a media company, and I have to really try this because I have a confrontational personality lately. Like I will call
one guy rustles your jimmies.
I will call a listener stupid on the Facebook page. I did it earlier.
Sorry.
But if you're trying to build a media company, by and large, you want to be likable and you want people to like you and you want people to want to listen to your product because you're a pleasant person. Like it doesn't work if you're trying to
if you just troll, you're never serious, right?
Right.
But so you need to pick a side, and you need to say this is what I stand for, but at the same time, don't bend over backwards and be, oh, well, I understand. You just give us a listen, and then allow them to wreck it for your existing listeners.
Yeah.
You do have to ostracize and villainize the person that's ruining it for your diehard fans.
We need to get together and we need to keep the Lava Flow podcast and the Unallowable Opinion podcast
Never heard either of those. What are those?
I know.
What's a podcast?
We need to keep them out.
Is this a podcast?
But that's my problem with. So Jarvis Scarborough was talking about on with all due respect about Trump being a day trader of politics, and so in the short term, it absolutely benefits him to be brash and say things and not disallow certain things. The short term, it helps him, but he doesn't realize in the long term, because of his inexperience in politics, that a lot of this stuff is going to come back and bite him in the ass. I think this week there was an ad that I think we posted on the Facebook page, but I'm sure you've seen it by now. You can go and search for it. But it was a PAC that took his words about women and to women and had regular women read the words, and it's pretty harmful to Trump. And it felt like for the first time that Trump's Teflon, so to speak, started to wear off.
5 states.
Yeah, he's.
I'm telling you,
the people he's hurting are the John Kasich Republicans.
The media cycle, the establishment media and the establishment Republicans will do everything. They haven't even turned on the switch of money. They haven't even
$35 million in Florida.
They haven't. They just started though. They haven't even begun to swift boat him.
They better do it quick.
State?
They better do it quick.
$35 million in one state's incredible.
In what time span?
2 weeks.
Yeah.
All right, that's a lot.
And he won Florida, but Rubio got 2%.
Yeah.
He basically sent him back to Cuba on a raft.
Made of tires.
It was horrible. Like, the thing is that people, and I've been telling this forever.
They've been pissed off for 8 years.
Yep, 20 since.
They've been pissing people
off. Not being cognizant of how difficult it is to transition in an economy created today. You know, you have a Harvard study that comes out that says the single largest contributor to income inequality is U.S. trade deals and the influx of illegal immigration.
Yeah.
Why do you think he didn't know this research was going on a year ago, and the results are released, and he seizes on it, and all of a sudden now this is his lead going to be on his economic team?
He's been playing this since 2011.
It's a mistake. Like, everyone's made the same mistake.
He has.
You know, it's like that meme. But he won't be the candidate come December, a man says nervously, and then it's a picture of Rachel Maddow.
Yeah. Well, first they make fun of you.
Yeah.
They do.
Then they attack you, Chicago, and then he's going to win.
And he won Illinois.
Yep.
Well, it only makes
he
him
won the
stronger
state.
at this point.
Yeah.
I know, because he's emboldening the people that support him, and now they're exempt from reason. So reason and logic don't work now because
Well, it never has. Nobody's
it's them
ever
against the
voted
world.
off of reason and logic.
It's a party for reason and logic.
Well, not in the two main parties.
But I mean, Republicans are the ones that, at least in their messaging, preach principle. Where Democrats are the ones that preach pragmatism. You can be pro-business and also, give people a helping hand when they're in a struggle. They don't really have a governing philosophy, except Bernie's the real game changer. And
yeah, Bernie, yeah, he's legit.
He
believes
he's
every
a principled
word he
Democratic socialist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
From the whitest state in America with the highest income.
That's why he's doing quite well.
He's Denmark of the United States. And that's where, democratic socialism usually sells well because they're older.
People in New York use Vermont as a suburb, to dodge the taxes of New York State. Yeah, so yeah.
But socialism, though. Pro-socialism.
Pro-socialism.
Dodge taxes.
But I'm going to be over here to dodge the taxes from New
It's
York
not
State.
a dirty word. It's 2016.
Yeah.
How do you guys? Because I don't know. I mean, if it comes down to it, are you? So you say you will not, Tyler, vote for Trump?
No. I don't think there's a reason to. I think he's got it sewed up. Honestly.
So who are you planning on voting for?
Gary Johnson, more than likely.
Attaboy. Greg?
No, but I don't think it matters, honestly.
What about you? I mean, you've been. I don't know if you do it to rustle my jimmies.
I don't. I literally have written on this to a lot of people because no one wants to hear it.
Have you posted it on wearelibertarians.com yet?
No, because who reads it?
I
Honestly,
do.
because I write long form. I write long essays more so than articles. But I try to be as thorough as possible, document all my opinions, but they're long and they're tedious to get through. But, for me,
That's the beauty of it. A, you archive it. B, it does get read, and then C, you can just save yourself a ton of time not rewriting the same thing. Go, here's the link, read it, and then we get clicks.
True, and so I'll put it out there because I have it all saved and was reading through it because I do struggle with it. Like, ultimately, you believe in Gary Johnson because you trust him.
Yes,
you trust that everything Gary Johnson says he means.
He's proven. I mean, in government,
he is an individual. Former CEO of a company, joined a political party that he wasn't a member of in order to run for governor and win the nomination. Mm-hmm. Outsider who said that he would struggle to govern in a bureaucracy because he beat the establishment attorney general pick in the New Mexico primary. Ended up being hugely popular and bucked the establishment and beat the Democrats in a 2-1 Democrat state. Then sought the Republican nomination and decided, well, I can't really do that, so I'm going to go ahead and switch parties where I can find a platform. Sounds a lot like 2000 Donald Trump to today.
Exactly.
Now, Donald Trump is different in that Gary's message, his philosophical principles have never changed, whether he's been Libertarian or Republican. Donald is the ultimate Huey Long firebrand populist that I do actually think, if you've listened, his narrative's never changed on getting a fair shake on trade, which is at the fundamental core of his entire appeal. Because he was never going to win Republicans.
No.
And he was a politician, so he's never going to win a regular race and put together any kind of canvassing operation. He had two options: to make it schoolyard insults, but he had to be able to say what people were thinking.
Quickly. Very short. Mm-hmm.
And he had to dominate the media and never let anyone else get air. Yeah. And he's done it.
I know.
And, the other thing, too, is so if you look at it, most people didn't even, the immigration thing, I get it, but then, it's so hard to run against, in Southern California last week, a member of a Mexican, or an illegal immigrant had arrested for a felony, but then released because of the prison situation and lack of funding in California, rapes and bashes in the head of a 65-year-old grandma.
And it was, 2 weeks after he got out?
And that's one person.
Yeah.
Now, it is only one person, but it's the same thing when George H.W. Bush ran against Dukakis. Mm-hmm. There was a felon that was released early and murdered someone or raped someone. Willie Horton? Willie Horton, I think was the name. And that's what won H.W. Bush, on the verge of a recession because of the savings and loans crisis, won him a presidential election, is one villainization. And now Trump will do that, but the reality is the United States spends $11 billion a year on free health care to individuals that we send back to Mexico. That's $11 billion a year that doesn't go to kids. Mm-hmm. Period. Based on 2000, Bill Clinton sells the U.S. Congress and the world on admitting China into the World Trade Organization. Mm-hmm. I've yet to see an estimate that China's intellectual property and cyber espionage theft is $300 billion annually to the information economy of the United States.
And that's one of Trump's main trade?
Yep.
No one's really been pro-American worker because we all are idealists, and we want to. Free trade is what heals things. It exposes us to people. You enter new markets. It's what is going to save us with Iran in the Middle East.
It's what's going to, one of the I think it was Chuck Todd on a forum with Bernie Sanders said, being protectionist is sort of antithetical to being against poverty in third world countries and wanting the United States to do something about that, because NAFTA has helped raise a lot of people in Mexico out of poverty. How do you square that? And he's
just not Americans,
right? And right,
he's not running for president of Mexico,
right?
Yeah,
and that's what kind of what
union
workers say. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they got hit. That's the thing, is that in a trade this is why economics is always important. Is so if the United States ran an even trade with China, protectionism hurts us.
Yeah,
because immediately what happens is they stop buying our goods, we stop buying their goods. Employment drops for both of us, demand drops, and that ripples through the entire economy until there's layoffs. When you're a deficit country, and we're over $350 billion annually, so over $1 billion a day just to China, and they impose a 45% import tax on us, and yet they rip off to the tune of $300 additional billion a year for IP, movies, counterfeit goods, counterfeit golf equipment's the huge one, and no one's. And then they subsidize steel.
Hacking.
So, like, the United States steel industry got crushed because when they entered the World Trade Organization, the free market conservative George Bush didn't want to put steel tariffs on it, and so people started buying Chinese steel, which is what got Donald Trump in the race.
But
about balance.
yeah, but he says, well, Apple will be making the iPhone in
Right.
America. It's
But
like,
they won't be.
That's politics.
Yeah, he won't be. He's just saying things that
But he's a politician. Barack Obama was going to close Guantanamo.
right. Well, he
Donald
actually
Trump,
tried,
when a
though.
microphone's in front of him, that is his political ads.
He's in his arena.
That's his ads because he knows whatever he says is going to get aired. It's going to get more airtime than he pay for $1 million
They've
for a
said
30-second
so far
ad.
this year he's spent the equivalent of airtime he's gotten on the 3 CNN, MSNBC, and ABC, CBS, and then Fox is the equivalent of $425 million in free advertising.
And he spent what?
$3
$3
million.
$3 million
of
is what he
his
spent?
own money.
Yeah.
I think he spent more than that, though.
Yeah,
Personally, his own, not what he's fundraised and
Oh, okay.
made from hats.
I think it's like
Closer
18.
to
I
30.
think, I think it was around 30 million, like 28
But
million.
yeah, like so
something
he's
like that.
he's actually though running now cash flow positive on his own investment.
It's hilarious.
He's a good businessman.
But I mean that's like,
sold a
that'd
lot
be
of hats,
awesome
too.
if that
Good deal.
happened. That'd be awesome
deal
if
maker.
like and then like for instance
When most campaigns end with a lot of debt, like Scott Walker still has so much campaign debt.
right, and then you look at like so when we deport somebody and President Obama, like that's the other thing. President Obama's deported more illegal aliens than any other
Bush
president in
did,
U.S.
yeah.
history.
Yeah.
And he's the good feels.
Right.
But I believe this, and this is where it all comes down to for everyone, no matter who you support for politics. Gary Johnson switched parties. You could spin that as a flip-flopper if his philosophical principles had never changed. Donald Trump has one philosophical principle. He's self-interested and pro-American worker.
Yeah. And he's bringing in Democrats to the Republican Party.
Because the Democrats aren't pro-American worker.
So I feel like Donald Trump turns off. I listened to an interview that it's the David Axelrod podcast, and he had Mark Leibovich on.
And that's good.
Mark Leibovich is a great writer. What is it? Residents of the Green Room, or it's and then also This Town.
Yeah.
He's a New York Times writer who's basically spent all these years
Backdoor access.
bashing. Yeah, it's on the bottom shelf there. If you look, you can.
the Anarchist Cookbook. That one?
Yeah, that one.
Next to the
And he just
Idiot's Guide to Memes.
he just basically said that Donald Trump is completely intellectually uninterested in anything other than Donald Trump. He spent all this time on the plane and around him, and he was very charmed by the kids. But he would turn off. He basically just watches Donald Trump on the TV. He reads Donald Trump in the newspapers. He doesn't read anything else. He doesn't have other advisors. You heard him this week on it was maybe Fox and Friends or whatever it was. I tweeted the link out. And basically
he consults himself.
He consults himself. He goes,
He's got a very big brain.
he's got a big brain.
Smart.
What's an expert?
Now, like, if you think
I'll
about
play the
that,
audio.
Well, is that bad, though, if someone who's all they're interested in is their legacy? Do you think he's not going to try to be the best president he
the
can?
most predictable kind of candidate you can ever have is one who isn't beholden to party.
Oh, no.
Only self-interest. Because everything he does,
He's
everything
even
he
stated
undertakes
that.
will
He
be
stated that on the
self-interest.
record. He's like, you think I'm really going to tell you what my policies are going to be? Especially when it comes to...
Which is something I've advocated for forever with Richard
He goes,
Nixon.
you
That's
think
how
I'm
he
going to
kept
sit
us
here
out.
and tell China and Russia what I'm actually going to do?
You threaten everything.
But that's not how we work as a country.
right. It's never been done.
No.
I know, and that's a problem.
And that's what scares people.
Yeah, because he has emperor-like qualities.
What's great, though, about this country is that you've got Congress to shut him down.
And both major parties against him in every other country in
Yes,
the world.
I mean, if you think
He's not
that he's
gonna
going to
create an
get this
emperordom.
shit across with a
the
snap of a
U.S.
finger...
military is talking about outright rejection of what he orders.
Yeah,
So,
no,
like, I don't
they
think
literally
an
did a
emperor-
hearing.
Yeah,
the
I don't
Lindsey
think that's
Graham. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
when he
an
asked,
emperorship isn't possible because the military doesn't even want to do right now. Take orders from. They're pissed.
they literally, Lindsey Graham literally read off Donald Trump's. I believe is a quote about him. We need to kill terrorist families and
Go
their
after.
or whatever he said.
Yeah, the thing that
And
violates it's a war
yeah,
crime.
Yeah,
right?
no,
Violates
he
Geneva
read
Convention.
it to a general, and the general said, "No, we'll never do that, and it's illegal."
Whoa, hold on.
And
They've
so-
done it, though.
And so
They've
you'll
done it.
get
Anwar al-Awlaki's an American citizen.
Right.
No trial. Droned his son 2 weeks later, and Samir Khan, both American citizens who went to go see if his dad was alive in Yemen. Yep. They ordered a signature strike on him with no trial and no crime.
But that's
and no
not an argument
terrorism
for Trump, because we were on this program arguing against that.
It isn't.
No.
But it's a political message. It's politics.
Right.
Yeah.
And politics is manipulation. And if you think, like, the reason Barack Obama struggled is he went to Cairo. If you would just unclench your fist, we wanted to establish a dialogue at Cairo University in Egypt. In this world, unfortunately, we've created so many crimes. We've screwed up virtually everywhere we've ever intervened.
Yes.
The reality.
Yeah. It's trying to put in who we want.
We haven't had a positive
Democracy
outcome
doesn't
anywhere
work.
we've intervened, really.
Yeah.
All right, so here's
the
the clip from Trump that I want to play. That just made me laugh out loud when I heard it. It's so silly. He's on Morning Joe, and this is Mika.
Oh, Mika wants to.
She's
Yeah.
With consistently so that you're ready on day one.
I'm speaking with myself, number one, because I have a very good brain, and I've said
He goes, I'm speaking with myself, number one, because I have a very good brain, and I have a lot of good ideas. I have a lot of... It's so silly.
Yeah, but he's got you replaying it. That's a free ad right there.
I know, but is it really an ad when I go... What an idiot!
Yeah, because if you are, there is no group of people that's undecided about Donald Trump.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. There isn't.
You want to know why?
Everyone's
And people
decided.
love him because he will literally say whatever the hell he thinks.
And the Bernie coalition was going to go to Donald Trump because Hillary supports the TPP.
And that's why the advertising really didn't work. That's why the women's ad didn't work. At this point, he's a known commodity. He's reached saturation.
Yeah.
And so he pretty much has the nomination sewn up.
If he can get it, because, I mean, there are rules. Roger Stone wrote an article today.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that Trump can, and the amount of... I don't know. If he comes in with 50 delegates short, I think he'll get it. If it's over 100, he won't. It'll be John Kasich or it'll be Paul Ryan.
What happens then if he doesn't? What do you think happens?
We'll talk about that on a future episode. Let's not jump the horse. But that's a
dun dun dun.
But
tinfoil hat
part of
episode.
it is people want to take down Trump.
Yeah.
People want to take him down, right?
Because people hate winners.
Because
No.
Because here's my thing. I'm on the fence on whether or not this is all an act or if he's really just crazy. And I don't want to take the chance that he's a crazy emperor and will cause a constitutional crisis where he orders the military to do something and they say no.
That would be the opposite of an emperorship,
Yeah.
though, wouldn't it?
How would any of the other people besides, Gary Johnson running could be an emperor? What? The oligarchy of Hillary Clinton?
Dick Cheney?
Yeah, Cheney or
Running the first term of Bush?
Yeah. Or
I don't.
the
Eleanor
or the
Roosevelt?
Messiah Obama.
If you
Which one
read-
of those aren't emperor like?
I mean, he pretty much about-faced on all of his liberal ideals.
I know, but you guys are Harry. You're using the arguments that we've
comparison.
used against Obama forever.
No, I'm not supporting Trump. I don't
All
get
right.
that.
No,
Don't get that
Harry
wrong.
does
I'm
not want a great America. Be
I'm
clear.
voting for John Madden, first off. Okay.
I think if you look at everyone who doesn't want him, can the guy? Is it really that he's that bad?
And he's winning.
Yes.
If everyone,
But hold on,
if
hold on, hold
everyone's
on.
against you and you're winning, that
Even
says
if he
something.
is that bad, and he's still getting all these votes, we're really going to say no? You people you don't know what you want. You can't. Is this not? You can't. Your vote doesn't matter anymore. I understand it's the Republican primary right now,
Right, and he's not been a long-term party member, and they're going to protect their brand and their status quo.
That's what they get
Right.
for having such an open primary.
They brought it upon themselves too.
If you want to know the whole convention chaos thing, there's a Politico article, "The Path to Convention
14
Chaos."
ways or something.
The Path to Convention Chaos by Benjamin Ginsburg, written on March 12, 2016.
Who is the attorney in Gore versus Bush?
Yeah, so he
For
wrote all that out.
The West Palm Beach delegates.
I want to read a few things because I read a few things that I thought were interesting that I want the audience to hear. The first is from Michael D. Tanner. He's a Cato scholar. He also writes for National Review. This is titled, this article's Trump, the Candidate of Raw Emotion, and it was posted, I don't know what day this was posted. They don't, for some weird reason, they don't have the date on there. But, we tweeted it out. So, a Trump presidency would offer little good news for those seeking to reduce government spending and restrain the national debt.
True.
Trump has effectively put more than half of the budget off limits since he has ruled out substantive reforms of entitlement, Social Security accounts for 23% of federal spending, Medicare 15%, and Medicaid 10%. Interest on the debt, 6.5%, is also untouchable. And Trump wants to increase the defense budget, currently 15% of federal spending. That leaves just over 30% of federal spending available to trim. And Trump has identified few cuts even in these programs. For example, he supports farm subsidies and increased spending at the VA. Essentially, Trump promises to make government more efficient and cut waste, fraud, and abuse. That's not going to get the job done. On the other hand, Trump has called for trillions in tax cuts over the next 10 years. His tax cuts are generally pro-growth and would likely boost American competitiveness and job creation, which are good things. But in the absence of serious spending restraint, tax cuts of this size could well lead to more debt. The Tax Foundation estimates that even with increased economic growth, Trump's plan would add more than $10 trillion to the debt by 2024. They go on to talk about health care, where he's been all over the place.
No, he's adamant. He used to be single payer, but even Democrats now admit single payer is not possible here.
Right.
He is, but he's always been populist. He has said verbatim, listen, this is going to cost me support with Republicans, but I'm going to make sure everyone's protected. And somehow,
he said we can't have people dying in the streets.
Like Chris Matthews and Joe Scarborough have turned that into a negative. And it's like,
what the hell are you?
He just sounded like Barack Obama, who gave you a shiver up your leg. And now it's because it's the white guy.
But whose policy? Does he review anyone else's policies who are actually going to...
Just Trump, because Trump's the front runner.
Right. But
who cares about Marco Rubio's policies?
No. Marco Rubio doesn't even...
He's got LIDDLE policies. So if you want to get a Cato Scholar review of Trump's health care, foreign policy, trade, and social issues... you can take a look at that. Trump, the Candidate of Raw Motion by Michael Tanner.
Danny's brother.
Danny Tanner. There's another article that I found that I thought was really interesting in terms of who Donald Trump is and what he believes, and maybe a little bit of what he's up to. And I don't know if you guys read this. I posted it in chat and in the We Are Libertarians Facebook group, which you can access at wearelibertarians.com. Join us. We post a bunch of links in there in between shows. Trump building the generals in his own style, January 1, 1984, by Ira Burkow. And this is basically when he bought the USFL team, and he's taking on the NFL. And there's a lot of, I think, instructive things in here about Donald Trump's personality when he was younger and a little more clear than the old crazy man we see now.
Read his book. Part of the deal.
Yeah.
You don't get to just see Donald Trump. You have to see an 8-minute slideshow about Trump Tower and Donald Trump, which I thought that was hilarious.
But he's written about that. That is to keep. It's his
it's his vetting process.
Yeah. So if you're willing to sit through it, he'll sit through you. That's his litmus test to get access.
So he was building some condos, and he says creating illusions to an extent is what has to be done. Said Donald John Trump, sitting behind a white desk in front of a large window on the 26th floor.
These are the Southside riverfront condos that he had to sell off because the savings and loans crisis. No, that was after that. That was Grand Central Station.
Oh.
On the 26th floor that looks out on the panorama of Central Park. But you have to give quality, and I've always gone first class. This is when he was 37. Two of the people I admired most and who I kind of studied for the way that they did things were the great Flo Ziegfeld, the Broadway producer of Ziegfeld Follies, and Bill Zeckendorf, the builder. They created glamour and pageantry. The elegance, the joy they brought to what they did was magnificent. Others tried to copy them and generally failed. So I thought that was really interesting. One of his main influences was in life is a Broadway producer.
You know why?
Why?
Did anyone here, though, read The Art of the Deal or anything like that?
Yeah, I just read it recently again.
Not since I was a little kid.
So
just experts.
Trump can be explained by his context. His dad was a slumlord, Fred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yet he was perpetually courted. He had looking glass syndrome among the elite in New York City. And they treated him like dirt, but then they wanted donations. And he was always his dad. So he was never part of the establishment rich Manhattan. Because Manhattan, at the time, the Grand Commodore Hotel had a porn shop. So where Trump Tower is now, across the street, was a porn shop. Mm-hmm. Manhattan was decimated. Wall Street, if you've seen The Wolf of Wall Street, the day Jordan Belfort starts is Black Monday. Mm-hmm. Utter collapse. Before that, the 80s were a terrible time.
Shit for New York.
Trump got his $1 million inheritance, leveraged that to buy the option on Grand Central Station and the Commodore Hotel, but he didn't have any more money. And his dad was like a minority investor and wouldn't back him. So he had to get the unions. He had to get banks that were all hurting because they had just lost their ass in the savings and loan crisis. And he had to get public officials to give him access to do a restoration, and then these condos as well.
With the tax break as well.
Yeah, he had to get tax breaks. He had to get subsidies. He did. But if you read, there's New York Times articles on it, and this is back before he was a political figure, and no one thought it could be done. And he, but because he did it, he was able to pull off the Woolman skating rink. He was able to pull off Trump International Towers. He rebuilt Manhattan from like where people would go and watch porn films in the middle of the day. And now it's not kidding. Like now it's where Home Alone 2 was filmed. And this was the ostentatious and the vision. And like why you walk in there is because it was completely gold. And the strategy was we have to create a public spectacle to get people to come back to Manhattan.
Yeah.
And now today, because he first got the option in '84, outside of Hong Kong, per square foot, it's over $3,000 per square foot to rent in his building and the buildings adjacent to it. So it's the second most expensive place to rent in the world. And it used to be a porn where a guy would go watch snuff films in the middle of the day from Wall Street.
But what you read,
Well,
is
goes
that
to
not
that place.
politics, though? Just
Yeah, and he goes on, he talks about what I like is for people to tell me something can't be done when I think it can. In real estate, you deal with some very smart, very devious people. They're the sharpest wolves in the world. I've competed against them, and I've come out fine. Sports is really small potatoes to that. Goes on to brag about his record, talk about hiring Herschel Walker.
Yep. From the NFL.
yeah,
Peeled him away.
yeah, and he brought in what's
And that had real momentum. The USFL, I mean, compared to anything like the XFL.
Oh, yeah.
The
they won
wrestling.
the lawsuit, but
Yeah. But then
got a
Reggie
dollar.
White from Tennessee, the Minister of Defense, defensive end, he got drafted in the USFL and decided to do that over the NFL. First pick in both.
Yeah, so then he goes on to talk about people are hungry for a winning football team in New York, and I'm sure they'll support it. There's a void today in New York, and the NFL, with all its parity, is equal and boring. I remember when I used to love to watch the Green Bay Packers in their great years. You like to watch excellence, not everyone being equal, and if you rooted for an underdog team to beat them, it was inspiring. It gave you hope. It's like people going to watch Martina Navratilova play tennis. You know she's going to win, but go and you watch her for her excellence, and if someone beats her, it's a great upset, and that's wonderful too. So I think that crafting of the narrative of the underdog, I think, is now playing out here as well.
no, for sure.
I mean, he's a showman, and he's a promoter that if it were entirely up to him, he'd never be able to pull this off. He can only have people around him that are actually experts at what they do. And then, if you've
think
seen
that's
that
one of
Jobs
his
movie, he
strengths.
plays the orchestra and everybody is sitting in a chair and he plays them. That's his instrument.
I think that's
Including
one
the
of his. That's one of the reasons that he's doing so well or that I wouldn't mind him getting in, is that I think he realizes his shortcomings, I believe, and that he can pick. Obviously, look at The Apprentice. He can pick. He can
Fill in the
delegate out.
gaps.
He can delegate
Yeah.
out the cabinet members and sit back and
He
talk
should, because
shit.
if he did it himself, he would be worse.
Oh yeah, I think he would.
Now, I know you have you don't like him.
Not under
at
a-
all.
And I get it. Why people
He's
don't.
not a libertarian candidate at all. He's
he-
not. He
He
I
and
understand that.
yeah, we talked about why. I just don't. I don't feel he has the temperament. I don't feel that he is thoughtful. I don't feel that he is libertarian in the slightest. I think there are certainly things about him that, policy-wise, that I think would be good. But
that's with every candidate.
It's certainly, there's things that I agree with him on, but it's not enough to get me to switch. And I just don't like his approach. I don't feel that his approach is healthy for the country. I think that it's divisive. I think the violence is really... I think he missed a real opportunity to show political leadership this past couple weeks and just say, I disavow violence. I'm not a violent person. People are doing this. People are doing that, blah, blah, blah. And, call the guy that got cold-cocked in the face, the young black guy, and say, hey, are you okay? Pay for his medical bills. And, instead of just doubling down and paying for it's just the guy that cold-cocked him, he's going to pay his legal bills. I just think that's, what he's doing is not very well thought out.
I think you just
very
hit the
short-sighted.
single most important element in this entire election.
Right.
On all sides. Is he presidential? And the people that want a diplomatic statesman leader who is humble, who will let people save face, who is strong enough to take criticism and not let it bug him, he's the literally polar opposite.
He's the opposite of Martin Sheen in The West Wing.
Yep.
Which is the idealized president.
And I mean, I look for that president every day.
Yes.
I look for that candidate every day.
I think this may be out there, but I think he is still just going along with the negativity because he knows it sells. And then once he gets that locked, I think you'll see. You've already seen it a little bit. In his speech.
I couldn't believe
he's coming back around.
His acceptance speech, I couldn't believe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was incredible. Like who that was.
Yeah.
I just don't find him to be
authentic.
If you're looking for
decent.
soone who's going to be consistent the entire way, you're not going to.
He's the worst candidate you can imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's not presidential, but he'll say in his speeches, Ivanka, she's telling me that ain't presidential, but you know what I'm going to do? I don't care. I'll call him up.
I can't stop myself.
I'm not president yet, so this is what I would do. I can't help it. Maybe I'll change. There is definitely an element of politics turning into entertainment. Totally, and we are guilty of this sometimes, and I'm guilty of it.
Though.
Yeah. And it always has
Except
been.
Except for when Washington tried to be the everyone's president. After that, parties happened.
It's now gone mainstream, though.
Yeah.
Nerd sports is what it's always kind of been called, but now it's not nerd sports. Now everybody's got an opinion on Trump,
and he gave him a reason to watch. Before that, if this were Jeb and Hillary, it'd be hard to get people would do the whole I've been watching it closely, and this is what's going on in the race. With Trump, everyone's watching every minute.
Absolutely.
And there's no faking it.
And he's bringing what he built to be the largest last name, quite possibly, in America.
In luxury branding.
Yeah. I mean, he's a brand, literally, and that's out there every day, and people, whether you like it or not, but he stays in the media.
From this article, at the news conference for Brian Sipe, for example, Sipe was telling, let me start here. Meanwhile, Trump, the newest franchise owner, goes about becoming one of the most visible and, in a way, candid. At the news conference for Brian Sipe, for example, Sipe was telling about having been benched for a game. He was a quarterback. Trump stood up and said it came after Sipe, on an off day, was in New York talking with Trump, and the Browns knew it and reacted angrily to it. Brian is too much of a gentleman to say it, said Trump, but I guess I'm not. Trump was reminded of that recently. That's the way I saw it. Perhaps honesty and overrides gentlemanliness, he said. But in the end, we got him. We got results. I like results. And I think that is a lot of what people like about Trump, is that he is results-oriented, and Republicans especially don't feel that they have gotten results. They feel that they have been... they haven't been listened to, and they've been ignored. And
it's not just Republicans. It's white, middle-class, non-college degree laborers.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a working class.
They were told, trust us. This deal is going to expand us into new markets. Your job right now, labor isn't cheap in the United States. We're the world's reserve currency. It's just the fact of the matter is we are the global standard. We don't get the luxury of manipulating our currency to boost exports.
Right.
So that being the case, labor's never going to be cheap. So Bill Clinton, he ushered it in, and he meant it with the best of intentions. Here's what we can get in this NAFTA deal, and here's what we can get by admitting China to the WTO. I feel your pain. Here are subsidies and credits to go back to community college and support your family and learn a new skill. The problem was it was the information age, which was on the precipice. Those jobs left faster than trade jobs.
Oh, yeah, because you don't have to build a factory.
Came out of the nowhere.
Right,
you got to open up a laptop.
Information doesn't have unions. It can't.
No.
Yeah.
So then they got hit twice. Now, not only did the guy that might have been a union rep or might have been, a lead assembler on a product line or assembly line, then went and, maybe he was the ideal. He went and got an IT contracting degree, information technology consultant backing. And all of a sudden, he could only demand $12 an hour to support a family of four, where before he'd been making $33, and they shut down the GE stamping plant here in Minneapolis. And no one was there to say, here's your next step, because now he's 50.
Right.
Then he
There's no going
went
back
to
to
go
school.
get his real estate license, and
Right.
then
And then he did that for a little while. And
you
that
forgot about that
exploded.
one.
But you know what? Playing victim doesn't do anybody any good.
No,
It doesn't
not at
serve
all.
those people well.
It doesn't, but when it's a mob,
It
and
doesn't
they're mad,
help.
Reason and logic don't work, and it creates worse.
when
backlash.
your government's also making policies at the same time
Sure.
that is
and it's
directly
Democrats telling you
that
they're
is
for you.
directly
Yeah.
negating
Any benefit.
It's a complete opposite policy of what should have been enacted.
And that's the funny dichotomy, because it's Bernie appeals to the same crowd as
the
Donald
same
Trump.
coalition.
And Bernie points the gun at Wall Street and the decision makers and the politicians, the people who actually are responsible.
The person he's running against.
But he
in
wants
their
more
primary.
government to
Right.
fix it.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump is one of those people that Bernie would be mad at. And that's the hilarious thing about Donald Trump, is that Donald Trump is establishment. He is an insider. He is a billionaire.
But they
hated
see him
in
as
New
an
York.
outsider who they see themselves. If I only had $1 million, I could become a billionaire.
Trump doesn't get invited to Wall Street
No.
events. They see him as brash and the ugly
They hate him in
American.
New York.
Right. He's a joke.
Right.
Right.
And they hate that because this is about pedigree, connections, American bloodlines. And so putting Trump built the playground they all live in Manhattan and rebuilt it and restored it, and yet he doesn't get invited to the cocktail party.
Right.
It's the same. He is the result of he's become like he thought he'd build it and be part of the establishment,
Leave her alone.
but he became learning how to manipulate the press. He became unpalatable to every power broker in the world.
Well, he's just not someone we can trust.
Well, he's not one of us.
Right.
You know, even though he's valedictorian of his class at Wharton in real estate finance, doesn't matter. Even though he's from New York, it doesn't matter because of how he's the ugly American. He doesn't like Europe.
I can tell you that I have felt this because of this. When you are outspoken and you are a public figure, I mean, I'm not Donald Trump and I'm not famous, and I'm
You're
not
way more famous.
But
way more.
But I have a public voice in the Libertarian Party of Indiana, and my recent criticisms of one of their candidates and the quote-unquote causing infighting, you start to get alienated a little bit because, man, we just can't trust you with the inner circle.
You're not part of the team anymore, huh?
Right. You know.
Guess we, maybe we should back off including him in this discussion.
Yeah.
Part of
And,
the
and then it's all because you mean well, and you mean to expose light on manipulation and, like secret coalitions forming to prevent the democratic process from working and electing political candidates in both parties.
Yeah.
And so like Stephen Colbert, who hates Trump, at the end of the day in an interview says, God, I find it so refreshing though that what people want actually does matter in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
And that's so refreshing. But Trump is the most divisive, I don't think I could drop a better ugly American picture than him.
Absolutely not. He's garish. He's loud.
Like
he's brash.
he's
he's
rushed,
been a
but-
joke his entire life. I mean,
right.
in the media,
and he accepted it. And like one thing that
the biggest media hub of
the worst,
Yeah.
and he wanted to do it.
And
he
he
wanted
doesn't
his
give a
failures
shit.
to be public.
Yeah.
So he'd get press coverage.
yeah.
Yeah, and like to me, one
He
thing
went
that's
head-to-head with the
happening
man.
in America that's a terrible trend is the millennial generation. Like we were raised that we were a nation of test takers. So like we had to meet these, do this. Here's a gold star. You're perfect.
oh yeah, and it was
But that creates people are afraid to take a risk because now, oh my God, failure's that's embarrassing.
Yes, yeah, and it's like that with all the millennials that I have
Completely.
working for me. They don't want to take a risk. That's why, like, there's like, well, why is Harry in charge? Because I'll take a risk. I don't care if I fail. I don't even think I can.
I'm wrong all the time. As
Yeah.
long as I fix it, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Right?
I won. I got the W.
And so like people hammer him on the bankruptcy, and I kind of like, you know what? Everyone went bankrupt in the savings and loan crisis. in the 80s.
4 out of how many?
They
companies?
leveraged
158?
Yeah, they leveraged. So like for every $1 million they borrowed, they only had to put up like 150,000, and the rest was leverage. And so when interest rates rise, you're screwed.
Right.
Loans get called, and it spirals out of control, and everyone goes bankrupt. In his book, he writes about he's walking down the street on Black Monday, sees a bum, and goes, "Oh my God, that guy's $900 million richer than I am."
Yeah.
That's and to come back from that publicly after you've lived. I'm the god. I'm the playboy. I'm living Hugh Hefner's dream. And then you have to eat crow like that, and you stay in Manhattan, and then decide I'm not going to build a company built on debt. I'm going to build it licensing a luxury brand, so there isn't any debt. It's a lesson learned.
He's a master in hedging his bets.
And he can admit he's wrong. He changes his position.
He does.
He's
He
a
does.
flip-flopper.
He does it. If you want to call that flip-flopping.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
if you
Evolving
gain
your
knowledge on
position.
a subject and you turn out to be right, I don't consider that flip-flopping.
So now we look ahead, and it is Cruz, who, in my mind, will be a diminishing candidate because
He's regional.
Because the media, unfortunately for Kasich, the best earned media day that he would have had the last 2 days has been dominated by the SCOTUS pick. And so he's pretty much DOA now after winning that. And he has to win 112% of the remaining delegates to
Which
win.
is impossible.
It's not. It
It
is.
can happen at a
It's
brokered convention.
Totally impossible. But once you go to the convention and people like Rubio, Jeb Bush, and all these. See, the thing with Kasich is that Kasich is everyone's second choice. And so when you're everyone's second choice in a brokered convention where you're voting on rounds of ballots, that's a really powerful place to be. And I've said it from the beginning. You all looked at me shocked months ago when I said Kasich is the guy to watch.
I love Kasich.
Yeah, I think we all
we're on that
agreed with
episode.
Kasich.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the thing was, no Republicans ever won without winning Ohio.
Ohio,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so that's
that
a
was
non-starter if he's not your VP or endorses you.
And I had a Democratic coworker come to me the other day and say, "Listen, I'm a Democrat. I don't like Bernie. I don't like Hillary, but this Kasich guy kind of scratched me where I itch." And so I think that there is a possibility that Kasich. I think Cruz is just done. I don't think he's going anywhere. He's a regional candidate. Kasich has more of a broad appeal. The media is going to paint it as, the outsider versus the insider, which is funny because a governor can't really be.
And he's the ultimate Republican insider.
Yeah.
There isn't a bigger one.
Kasich is a former House Budget Committee guy. He was a congressman, part of the '94 class.
Fox News show.
News show.
Managing director at Lehman Brothers that failed.
Right.
He is Mr. Establishment.
Right. And so I think that they will try to paint it between these two. But when it really comes down to it, Trump's going to be the nominee. Hillary Clinton's going to be the nominee at this point. I really do think that, and I think it's going to be one of the nastiest campaigns we've seen in recent history.
who wins. Who's your pick?
Oh, I think Trump will absolutely destroy Hillary.
David
you wanna
Clough
know
was on
one-
Kelly File, who was President Obama's.
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
No, I didn't see
And
that.
he goes, I wouldn't want to run against Donald Trump.
I
ever."
wouldn't either. You want to know why?
You can't predict it.
2011, the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Remember, I talked to you about that.
That article was epic.
That is the article. That is the night that he decided to run for president
It
because
is.
he realized that he had no pull in politics and he wanted himself, for whatever reason, personal reasons, he wanted to be respected in the political ring.
He's wanted that his whole life. He rebuilt Manhattan so
He
he
did
could be among the rich
and
elite.
everyone shit on him. I have a theory that he donated to Hillary in 2012
for this.
for this, so he could, if he got the main stage, he can literally look at her in the eyes and say, "Listen, I own you."
Remember when I paid for you to come to my wedding?
and you couldn't even beat Obama. I think that is literally a trump card.
And
It literally is. I
literally
own her.
and
Like,
figuratively,
yeah.
the ultimate trump card.
Do you really think that she can say anything against me when I gave her X amount of dollars?
Hillary, I would never be here if you had just been effective because I donated to you and believed in you.
Exactly.
And now look,
and
you've made a
Mitt,
mess
he's
of
got
it.
the same thing with Mitt.
Owned him.
Yeah.
Got down on his knees.
Right, yeah. He would have got down on his knees.
In that article that I read from 1984, he talks about buying into the USFL because it was a way to promote his other businesses.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
says
for sure.
real estate isn't sexy. People don't care about that, but people care about sports.
New York's the largest market
And
in the
so
world at
it
that
was
time.
a way for him to promote his brand and his other businesses. And I think we're in a moment where politics is sports. I don't
culture.
care. I could care less about, I work on a national radio show that does comedy. And so in comedy, what you do is you take the thing that everybody knows about, the common theme, and then you make novel observations about it, and that is humor. So we don't talk about politics, and so we kind of hurt ourselves in terms of, we limit what we can talk, not hurt. And so with politics, it's one of the last broad issues that we as a society can talk about. And then there's sports, and there's sex, and the human condition, and, you build characters around that. But you see that same sort of mindset in Trump in this run. And what was the guy that I was talking about earlier in the Axelrod interview? the New York Times writer.
Oh,
Citizens of the Green Room,
Yeah,
this
Citizens-
town, Mark Leibovich.
Leibovich.
And
I almost said a really
dirty.
non-kosher term.
And he said he interviewed him in October and spent some time with him in October, and he just had the impression that like Trump was doing this as a lark. It was not ever intended to be serious. And there was a certain point, I remember watching TV. What the hell's the cat doing?
Your cat is beating on the window like a freaking bongo drum.
Wish I had the camera on that. Yeah, she's like scratching at the glass
Pan
door.
stage.
Is Mittens Aspie?
No, that's Cornelius, and yes, she is.
He is now.
And he basically talked about how this was a lark. Like, he didn't expect this to happen.
And I think
It's like when Trump
doesn't need any more branding. I think he's done everything for it. I literally think Trump is in this for Trump's... He's what, 73?
No, he's 69.
Are you sure he's not 70?
Bernie's 74.
Is he the...
Yeah.
I thought Trump was in his 70s.
He's 69.
Is he 69? Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I believe that Trump is doing this as a legacy because he made Manhattan great. Everything he's done, he sees in his eyes that he's touched it and somehow took something out of the gutter and made it better.
A lot of his themes would have been fake, like so country first or something about, the great healing or forward. Mm-hmm. Restoration's what he does.
It is. I mean, it is. That's
what he's
his
done his whole
business.
life.
Yeah.
That's what he
And
does.
I think
he's a restorer.
Right.
With a big vision that everyone else thinks is retarded.
And if he could literally get to be
not
president, not even accomplish anything, but just having president next to his name, that would be the ultimate. I mean, that's the ultimate accomplishment.
Right, he's always wanted to be a part of the class that he isn't.
Yeah.
And when you're a presidential family, you are the. I was talking to my dad about this because he loves Kasich and he likes to watch the Trump rallies, but he's the same way as Chris. He can't get over the demeanor and his antics and how he devalues what the office would be like, or that's what he assumes because none of us know. It's impossible to tell.
Well, you look at history, and you had Obama, hope and change.
Well,
nothing happened.
Well, no, it's how
he's-
you behave.
Oh,
It
behave?
is just he's either lying and taking advantage of good people, or he says what he believes and he's batshit crazy. And either way, it's like the Rand Paul
you
both.
think he won't pursue trade? So he won't fight for American workers that he's courting?
I think he has to. It doesn't matter whether or not he believes that. He has to.
I mean, that's the one thing I think, without a doubt, like the connection and the amount of time he spends, 10,000 people talking for 2 hours, day after day. I get the political benefit.
He flies into airport hangars and then flies off. He does 3 rallies a day.
These rallies are hilarious.
And what
they're the
people
greatest
think of him
things
is
ever.
so important to him. I can't, abandoning all these time you put in to get a positive group for once in your life behind you. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine going in and saying, well, we're going to sign the TPP. No subsidies for job retraining. Good luck.
I believe at one point it was just a brand. Like, he thought of it, well, it's not going to hurt my brand if I get my name out. But
I'm still a kingmaker.
I think there's a lot of people in the shadows who are working for him. I feel he's a pretty calculated person, and he knows what's going on. He comes off as pretty stupid when he's talking, but
Because stupid plays.
it does.
Smart
it sells.
loses every election.
And he's highly
George W. Bush was Al
Unpredictable.
Gore.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton was the country boy versus H.W. Bush.
Yeah.
But Bush isn't an idiot, though.
No, but he comes off that way, and that's
Yeah.
what plays because it's
You got
related.
Yeah, look at his sound bites. They're just as bad as...
George W. Bush got the bubbas that Bill Clinton was able to get. His dad wasn't. Otherwise, he'd never been president.
True.
And that was still, let's vote against the Democrats. I mean, it's all politics, but...
I think, honestly, I know, and I've explained it, because I actually think... Uh-oh, he's laughing over there.
You're Greg Lenz. Gregory Lenz sits before us right now. Greg Lenz
on
unfortunately passed away.
R.I.P. Hashtag.
And
is this his 1 year? Should we be putting flowers
Almost.
on the
And the
gravestone?
last thing that you texted to Aaron Ewert in chat before Greg Lenz died was, "I'm a dick and crossed the line. Sincerely sorry." And he just posted it to your timeline.
And I remember why.
Yeah, I remember why
He
too.
came after me, and then I was annoyed, and I was like, well, I'm just going to end it. My foreign policy is the same as my chat policy. I wage war one time because I never want it to happen again. Turns out his
save lives in that.
Yeah,
doing
his
it that
wife
way.
was watching, and she doesn't respect such an absolute approach. And so I did have to apologize over that.
Yeah. No, this is the greatest troll ever. Greg got reported for something by somebody.
He had a 30-day ban.
I couldn't. I
7.
There was Brian Kill. It was a media thing in Plainfield. I kept going after him until I annoyed him to the point he reported me. And during my report, someone reported me dead.
Yeah, so he couldn't access Messenger for 7 days or Facebook for 7 days. Somebody, unbeknownst to the whole situation,
Harry knew and didn't tell. That's what I know now.
What?
You've known the whole time, and I've been waiting for this.
Whoa.
Jesse Riddle.
You were informed, and you thought I didn't know, didn't you?
Whoa. Yeah.
Is he blushing?
Franco.
Is he blushing? You're turning red.
You just turned pink.
Wow, shit.
Franco.
Good friend. Good friend, Harry.
And so, unbeknownst to Greg, he got reported as dead, and he had 48 hours or 72 hours to send a report that he was alive, but he couldn't use Messenger, and so his Facebook account
Memorialized,
and he can't ever get it unfrozen. Greatest prank ever.
I'm dead. R.I.P.
Hilarious. All right, so we've talked a lot about Trump.
And I don't want this to be an endorsement because, like, I trust one element of because of like I've watched him for a long time and read his books, and I'm not necessarily a fanboy, but like the big thing to me is the Electoral College is now at 242 for the Democrats to like 125 starting out every single election.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me as a libertarian, I look at the world and the way it's going. Millennials love Bernie. They like the young people are feeling the burn because Ron Paul's delegation didn't show up in Iowa.
Yeah.
You know, for either Rand, like they showed up for Trump, but like that was minimal. Like young people are supporting Bernie
He got
Sanders.
screwed out of
Well,
Iowa.
they got screwed. After the 2012
I'm
election,
saying-
they got kicked out. A lot of them, they got kicked out.
Well, they changed
Why
the
would
whole-
you go back?
Yeah, right. The young people that were supporting Bernie, just period.
Well, yeah, who doesn't want free
Millennials
shit?
aren't. So I look at that and I say, well, man, if it's 242 now, the hell chance does a libertarian? Because libertarian's hard to sell. Republicanism's hard to sell. And if there isn't a massive makeup in the Electoral College, I see blue unless
for a
they
while.
run someone that gets indicted by the FBI at the convention.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only way I see, like, a Republican or libertarian or anyone that just even maybe likes 1% tax cuts. Like, it's scary to me that we're at 242 in the Electoral College, and then there's one guy who is going to leave no philosophical lasting impression whatsoever because he's an absolute populist, and his platform is simple.
Let's be honest, he's a madman.
He definitely
In the best way.
He could be, or he could be someone that is excellent making people dance for him because
I think
he's
he will
spent a
be.
long time learning how to do it.
I think he'll get the nomination.
I think they're going to fight everything they can,
Well,
and
they
there's
will,
Rule
but
16D
I
where the
think-
same rules that applied expire right before the election.
But
So
I
they
think
can
it makes
literally
him
not
stronger.
renew the electoral rules of the RNC a
No,
week
they-
before it takes place.
I think there's going to be shady tricks. I mean, look what they did to Ron Paul, and Ron Paul was harmless in that situation.
Ron Paul
He didn't
also
gaze
Ron
enough.
Paul also isn't a billionaire.
In 2000, but here's the thing: in 2008, 2012, in both cycles, in state conventions and the national convention, they changed the rules and
They
did
absolutely
shenanigans to keep Ron Paul out. You hear them talk about it all the time about Romney's people screwing over Ron Paul.
Exactly.
And which is hilarious because, man, Ron Paul never got anywhere near the amount of media coverage that Bernie has gotten, and he was
No.
every bit as strong as Bernie.
It's
More
not
electable.
stronger.
Yeah.
And way more electable, too.
And way more electable, and they never covered him.
You're right.
But I think it's just because the media hates
it's
the
the
Clintons.
left paradigm.
It's not just
is
the-
so
yeah.
much more. Oh, the feels.
But you got to
Right.
look
Who
at how
cares?
Donald Trump's using the media, too. He's using Twitter. He's using the internet.
Direct connection.
Direct. Ron Paul was all
filtered. It was filtered and framed.
but
Right.
on the internet, it was grassroots. It wasn't him directly tweeting, hey.
Yeah, and
This.
he's not as charismatic as Donald Trump.
No, not at
No,
all.
that's
And he-
what's so going to be so hard to replicate for people that try.
There's
he's
no
a
way.
perfect personality. For him.
Nobody can ever be Trump again.
No.
He's-
Well, I
They'll
would say
try,
ever, but
and like a new model will emerge where you might be
Like
able to create
Rubio?
outrage.
Our good friend Austin Peterson is trying to be Trump, and it's not working.
Oh yeah, I just mean like Newt kind of pioneered it at the
Right.
anger at the media in 2008, or was that when did
Yeah.
Newt run? No, 2012. 'Cause he lost to
2012.
Romney. He won South Carolina by telling off CNN who was basically just reporting the fact that he left his wife with cancer for the doctor.
Yeah.
And whether or not there was an open marriage. And he just went on a tirade. And that was when we're not going to get anything shoved down our throat anymore. There was a little voice. And I think Trump saw at CPAC, he tested his messaging there.
Well, Trump also doesn't have anything to live for. Politics don't matter to him. It's not his job.
Which is the best thing to sell, because he literally I'm doing this for you.
He's like, said it, and he said it once the guy rushed the stage.
Yeah.
He said, and I had a plush life before this. Like, I'm out here doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to be doing this.
Well, yeah. Which
I know,
take it.
That's what's so tough, though, because but
that comes off the head. I mean, is that... Do you think that's honest?
Oh, I absolutely think so. Yeah.
It's self-interest. This is about legacy.
I do too.
How will the Trumps be remembered in U.S. history? Because they didn't matter before.
Because they're all going to be cabinet members.
His sons and daughters I'd take them in any cabinet.
They're great.
On any side.
They're
Right.
Trump Jr. and Ivanka seem lovely. I would love
Eric
for
was amazing on Today's Show.
He's a little weird looking.
Yeah, he's got that little.
He's a little,
Yeah. He's got some open mouth.
Yeah, but
he's a mouth breather, and that's always off-putting.
I can tell you, I don't know what Ivanka. I mean, Ivanka is. She seems really put together, really smart, really. I could see her having a political future. I mean, the great thing is that Donald made the name, but the kids seem like they're going to be the real leaders. Donald to me just doesn't say leadership. I don't see anybody ever being able to replicate what he's done. I just don't think that it's possible.
No.
I think it comes across as hollow and phony if somebody else tries to do it, because the thing about Donald is that he has credibility. He's been this way forever. People know who he is. He's been a known quantity, and he is...
People apologize for him forever. They always have.
Yeah.
He
can do whatever he wants. He's kind of Teflon.
I mean, it's because he doesn't... Honestly, it doesn't bother him. I mean, it bother. He's a scorekeeper, but if it really mattered to him how he was, seen in his image, he'd never behave this way, because he would constantly try to meet a standard that he'd never get into.
I think he's either considerably mentally ill or he is totally comfortable with himself. Again, it's just so hard to pin down because
they flirt with that very thin line.
Yeah, he's just hard to pin down.
There's a little McAfee in Trump.
Oh, for sure.
There's a little crazy genius.
So we're well over 2 hours at
SCOTUS?
this point. I would love to. We really
so boring. A white Jew that hates guns, and it was a political ploy to replace Scalia, which is a thumb in the eye. No way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you got an angry mob of first-time Republicans that are...
They're waiting. They're going to wait it out.
All the political capital is for Mitch McConnell to say, go after yourself, and no one's better at thumbing his eye and not getting upset than Mitch McConnell.
This was really a political ploy to help swing the Senate.
Yep.
They chose a centrist, somebody that would be easily digestible by Republicans. He's not a flaming liberal, so it's not obvious, so then they could score the point. And this guy, this is his last go-around. This is his only opportunity to get on the court. He's a little bit older.
68?
Yeah.
He's 68?
No, not quite that old.
I think he's like 63.
Yeah,
63?
he's early 60s. Someone called him John Roberts, but against guns, and I thought, that's perfect.
Yeah, people have called him Brennan. He's a consensus builder. He actually, if Kennedy passed away, he would be the perfect Kennedy replacement. But this is Scalia. And so the conservatives are never going to they're going to roll the dice.
The NRA.
Right.
And you know who Trump's putting in there,
an election year?
Judge Napolitano.
That's the rumor.
No, he said it.
That would be, I'm not kidding, that would be incredible, really.
That'd be amazing.
That's a reason to vote for him.
One thing, I haven't necessarily pled the real case of, because it's long and nuanced like anything, but, realistically, the next president appoints three minimum, probably four.
Right.
Hillary Clinton, that changes the nature of a lot of things. And I get it. I get judicial activism because Republican justices are guilty of that a lot of times for social issues as well. But at the end of the day, God, you can't really have another Robert who you think's on your side and then listens to the argument of the Solicitor General, knows that won't work, and then makes your case for you, writing the majority opinion.
Yep.
Well, that's that's incredible.
The thing with Roberts is Roberts hasn't been as conservative as Alito, certainly not as much as Scalia, but he has been a solid conservative on the court. He just did the unforgivable and gave Obamacare two free passes.
And he did it so the government's attorney didn't make the case
Right.
that
Yeah,
was
he
presented.
would've
He wrote their case.
Yeah.
And I thought, how do you do that? I mean, the case that was argued before you said, no, you're an idiot. Here's how it would work, and we're going to make this 5-4 now.
We know what you meant.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it was literally
Conservative.
Oh, you wrote this, but you know
That's-
what?
I mean, that
we
is, like,
know what you
amazing.
meant because
Yeah,
we know what you
he would be. He's a Stevens. He's a Brennan. He's a centrist. But he's you're a centrist. You're still going to lean left or you're going to lean right. He leans a little left, but he still would be a decent pick again if someone other than Scalia. If that, I mean, they're you're not going to get. But here's the question that I kind of have. Are you really ever going to get on the court again, at least in our lifetime or at least in the next 3 political cycles of 4 years each? So the next 12 years, for instance.
Yeah.
Are you really going to get a Scalia on the court ever again? Are you really ever going to get a Ginsburg on the court again? Or is the future of the court really going to lie in center left, center right?
To me, and that's the one, my favorite thing about him. Donald Trump being president will give 0 craps whether you like him or don't, and he'll bully the hell out of you and do everything he can to belittle you, diminish your credibility, spread lies. And I know that's a horrible thing to do.
But is that what we want?
If it's the difference between Scalia and somebody that thinks you don't have the right to defend yourself with a weapon, bringing into your home,
Yeah.
it's sometimes
That's what makes
there's necessary evils.
That's what makes this election crazy and
And
so
he won't
important.
appoint a social conservative. He's pro-gay marriage.
Yeah.
They ask him. He wins evangelicals, and he says, "Oh yeah, sometimes I like to go and say the bad things I've done and have a cracker." And he calls 2 Corinthians 2,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Coming up,
he's admittedly pro-gay marriage, and
I don't think he gives a shit about social issues.
No, he's going to ignore him and shove him in the closet.
Yeah.
Show up for election day.
We meant to talk about Apple too, the Apple encryption case because Harry's here. Briefly, the government wants to break into one iPhone. That's their argument that they're and we tweeted out
Just one.
the government's
we swear
case.
this time.
The one that they locked.
We swear we'll let you help us break into this one and the OS that you gave us. We promise we'll never get out. Unlike those files that Edward Snowden took. Unlike people's Social Security numbers. We promise we won't keep it on some private email server in someone's house. So it's my biggest problem with one of the problems with it is that even if they did create it, something that didn't exist, if they did create it, it's going to get out.
Yeah,
it's going to get out everywhere. It's going to get out faster than the crappy Sony movie about North Korea.
Well, they're saying that, listen, it's not an undue burden. Apple has all of these resources and people and everything. It'll take them 6 people to go and do this and create this thing for this one iPhone. But the problem is those 6 people then become at risk for kidnapping and ransom. I mean, for the world's business.
Not even that. It's just
Undue burden. It's going to be an undue burden. Apple has started to get on the main stage of malicious crackers that people want to go after Apple. We finally start seeing the first ransomware coming out for Apple devices. Those engineers need to be starting getting on their game because the security holes on the Apple OS are going to become more apparent to more people out there.
Right.
Apple needs to be watching to secure their user base. They've got an entire user base, which they sold on the idea that, hey, buy our products. You don't need antivirus or security. Yeah. Wrong. They've got a huge market share now in the United States, and and crackers are coming after them.
Yeah.
they're compromised.
So I take it you're against this.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
To be clear, Harry's on the side of ISIS.
Yes. Harry loves
Devices?
No, ISIS.
Oh.
Yeah, he's with the terrorists. He's hand in hand with Bin Laden.
Well, you're either one or the other,
I
you know.
know.
I mean, everything's black or
Nuance
white.
has no place in political discussions.
Especially security. Damn it.
Maybe we can get you to write an article on this for wearelibertarians.com. Since we ran out of time on the podcast, maybe we can get you to write something for the website.
Don't like
that,
writing.
Well, then maybe record a little podcast on it. Give me like a 5-minute. I don't know. I
Okay,
want your
yeah.
expertise.
Yeah, I'll probably do a mini vlog and make Joe transcribe it. He
That'd
likes
be
it,
Nice. Whatever's more work for Joe Ruiz.
Do a
Yeah.
vlog. That would be
right?
good.
Yeah, vloggity.
Yeah, I'll give you the login to the YouTube. You can upload the video. So I'd love to get that out there. That was actually the first topic we were going to discuss, but then we got started in on politics, and that's more fun than
I'll
Apple.
take the blame.
It is your fault.
Yeah.
Started playing the music, and it just took over.
And I didn't want to talk Trump tonight.
At all.
I
no.
specifically said I am. You know, there's no one left to make an argument to.
It's it. Yeah, that's kind of it.
And anyone, and if you try and
such
lay it
an
out,
intriguing.
it's the most polarizing.
Well,
right now,
I
I'm
think
seeing
it's-
friendships being lost over positive.
Oh,
Trump
yeah.
memes.
It-
Like it's amazing.
insane.
and negative ones.
We
It's-
didn't
it's
even-
hilarious.
We didn't even talk about Walter Block, which is the whole reason we were going to talk about this.
Yeah.
Which Walter Block has been on the show. He's a very influential libertarian.
Defending the undefendables.
Yeah, he is. He's a giant, a living giant of libertarians, and he endorsed Trump, and he came out and endorsed him, which I don't quite get. What was his reasoning? Did you read it? Did anybody?
I did read.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it was the standard one.
Yeah,
He's the most likely to affect change of the.
well,
existing
he's the most
options.
likely closest to libertarian who's actually electable is
Right.
what the summary
because
that
he
I
can
read.
actually win the electoral college and no other candidate left can.
Yeah.
So here's the value of experience and having been through a presidential cycle as a Libertarian Party insider, as part of the establishment.
Insider.
Walter Block and the Ron Paul crowd, the Lou Rockwell crowd, all those guys who have been around, all the Mises guys, they're all Republicans for the most part. I mean, they're not card-carrying Republicans. They're not showing up to meetings. But because Ron Paul forever has been a Republican, they are Republicans, and they vote Republican. They probably don't vote for Romney, but they'll certainly, in this case, say,
You
let's
consider
vote this way. Yeah,
classical liberals, is it?
absolutely. Yeah, I think it's.
I think classical liberal fits underneath the Constitution too. You
Yeah.
can't really have anarchy under a Constitution.
So it is a dichotomy, and it's not one that I have a problem with because I certainly am dichotomous in this way.
Could
You know, the people that I think are going to be the more effective in the office of president are going to be the more establishment types, like a Jeb Bush, like a Hillary Clinton. Whereas an idealist like Barack Obama or Ron Paul or Bernie Sanders aren't going to be as effective in managing the bureaucracy. That's why Bill Clinton was so effective as president, because he was just an effective manager of bureaucracy. He was a centrist. He was not an idealist. He was about practicality, which is where Donald Trump probably falls, because he's probably a centrist, leaning right, and he's pragmatic and wants results. You know, and so there are a lot of libertarians who are anarchists in their beliefs, but also are very politically pragmatic and say, you know, I'm going to vote for the Republican because they're going to do this, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because I live in a state with, you know, I'm in a blue state or a red
and
state.
I think that was his argument too, is
Right.
that literally Donald Trump is electable and he holds a certain percentage of what you could
Right.
consider a libertarian ideas.
Yeah.
He actually doesn't, or like, you know, non-intervention's his
No.
big home
Yeah,
run. And then
well, that's what he
tax
said.
reform.
Foreign policy. He said he was the strongest on as far as
He's
a
the
libertarian
most-
would be on
Yeah,
foreign
he's the
policy.
most non-intervention candidates left.
other than the war crimes thing, but whatever.
Well, it's
and-
ISIS. They're not. We don't even recognize them as a state. So
And that was my whole thing's
War
based
crimes.
on. I think
difference
he's
doesn't mix.
I think he's threatening things to get the alternative.
I do too. I think that's his
it's
bargaining
backdoor,
chip.
I think in a weird way it's backdoor liberty, just because that's been like his frap.
That's my favorite porno.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like I said. Like I always held the truth of Donald Trump is a hitting Ron Paul supporter here to kill the brand of the GOP, and by the only way he knows how.
Yeah.
Because
He
he's
ain't
Robin
gonna
can
do
see
it
that.
philosophically.
Yeah. Okay, final thoughts. This is your free time to talk about whatever you'd like. Tyler, you go first.
Well, thanks for having me on tonight. This has been. I know we kind of strayed off topic from the
what we
show
do here.
prep, but
There's no planning.
I
Trump.
wasn't really prepped for anything. So it's kind of like a Trump rally, right?
Well,
Right.
you worked hard today.
no, I did work hard.
You came up.
I
and you
worked hard all
freestyled
week.
your rally.
I did. I freestyled it straight off the dome. Yo, yo, yo.
Gregory?
Oh, you're not done, are you?
No, I
Oh,
no, I think we had a pretty good
You don't want
conversation.
to plug your mixtape or your SoundCloud?
I don't
or
have. I'm not selling anything. I'm just selling myself.
He's just selling liberty,
your licensing
liberty,
your brand.
Liberty and chill.
making America great again.
No, yeah. Buy Donald's Made in America hats. Put Americans to work.
Are they made in America?
They are made in America.
Yeah.
Look, you don't want one of those rip-off ones.
The ones the Chinese rip us off and
I think they're
counterfeit.
from California.
I gotta tell you, it's
Those
a nice
are the real
hat.
one. Those
Do
are
you
real
have
ones.
one? I'm just curious.
No, not yet.
I actually
really?
have two in every color.
Have you used digital currency towards the future purchasing of one?
If you must know, you've ruined the surprise. Yes, I have.
Uh-oh. Somebody picked a candidate.
No, I didn't. I bought the red one, but I bought it for, and I'm kind of regretting it because of this white on gold.
That white, listen,
This is the shit.
I had to put on a collar just to rock it because it's so fresh.
It is so great. Uh-huh.
5 swear words. That's 5.
Sorry.
Hey, how long did it take to get here?
What do you mean?
Like it's shipping?
Oh, it's 7 to 14 days.
Oh, no, it took me 3
I was
weeks.
going to say, for Hannah's wedding, Hannah Drozic, who's been on For the
yeah.
Scumbag Republican, let's both go dressed in blue blazers with white shirts and make
she'd love
America
it.
great hats.
See if you can get it.
By the
yeah.
way, kids, I went back and I bought 2 in every color. One to wear and one to save for my grandkids. They are going to be the beanie babies of the millennial generation.
Honestly, that's the other reason I bought the hat. There's 2 reasons. One, for this show and work, my other show, Bob and Tom. And then 2, because it's a great collector's item. This is a great piece of political history.
It is. And then I spent my tax return on Jeb's guac bowl because I know those are going to be worth a shit ton
That
in
will
the
be,
future.
not kidding, that'll be in a Smithsonian someday because I'm sure you're the only person that bought one.
I know.
I just haven't seen a hat like this. It's got like the
They're gangster. No, look, it keeps it. It's got the mesh on the inside, that keeps it
to
up.
keep it up,
And it keeps your hair fluffy if you got the.
You know who
Trump
pioneered these, though, was that brand that did the Reagan Bush 84 like retro runs and then the back-to-back world champs. I forget who it is. But like they were the ones that had the propped up front.
Was
And
it
then-
It wasn't American Apparel. Was
No,
it?
it's not American Apparel, but it's like a it's like it's like American. It's something and he then takes it and creates. He cuts off the lets off Reagan Bush 84 or 80. Cuts off the let's.
He said that's too wordy.
Again.
You can't tweet that.
Yeah, and then he cut it down, and he's lost Iowa. He set out the debate of Iowa just like Reagan,
right.
and he's basically just relived history and copied it.
This is the hat. The hat is
Exactly.
alone a brilliant marketing move.
Oh, for sure.
He took his slogan and he put it on a hat, and then he wore the stupid hat, and everybody made fun of him. And then everybody started going, I'm going to get me a hat because it's ironic. And then it is, and it's a great-looking hat.
Hipsters are wearing them like crazy, which is the funniest thing. Bernie bros are buying
Look at
these
that
hats and wearing
gold.
them.
Look at
It
that
is.
gold. That's actual gold leaf.
It's classy.
That's imported.
It's a beautiful hat.
It's a formal hat.
No, it is.
I-
I told Greg I cannot wear this hat without a collar on.
I honestly might get that one, too.
It's
It's worth
swanky. Look how swanky this damn thing
Can you
is.
imagine showing up to like a formal event and you have a tux on and that?
Oh, you have to.
I'm doing it.
Niece's baptism.
Oh wow!
Greg, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I just want to be on the record because I am the weird Trump guy. I am the one that shockingly has very odd views because I think everything he says he intends to